Okay, we have President Heminger, who is present. First Vice President James Younger.
Present.
Second Vice President Laurel Langhorne. Secretary Wanda Younger, present. Assistant Secretary Kathleen McSweeney. Treasurer Adriana Spain.
Present.
Executive Committee at Large Karen Nightingale. Executive Committee at Large Kelly Macbeth. Executive Committee at Large Nadia Conyers.
Present.
Communications, Leah Matterall will not be with us. Criminal Justice, Amy Stitzel. Economic Development and Labor, Gary Gaston.
Present.
Education, Tia Alfred. Environmental and Climate Justice, Julia Spain. Health, Tasia Iglesias. Housing Chair, Wells Harrell.
Present.
Political Action, Jan Marie Pena.
Present.
Religious Affairs, Pastor Davis.
Present.
Religious Affairs, Rosa Dunkley.
Present.
Scholarship, Julie Dufresne. And that concludes the roll call.
Okay, great. Thanks so much. Pastor Davis, good evening. Would you mind blessing tonight's meeting?
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. Let's look to the Lord in prayer. God of mercy, our nation, our Commonwealth and county are in a time of transition. With all of the injustice and fear in our world today, we ask you to inspire us and guide us as we participate in the upcoming elections. We seek a government that upholds and protects human rights and justice for all citizens, regardless of race, class, gender, or religion. Move and inspire us by your presence among us and the most vulnerable in our society. For their tears are your tears, their pain is your pain, their suffering is your suffering. In gratitude for the right to live and the right to vote, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. At this time, I'm seeking a motion to suspend the rules. And we do this because our national organization has a very specific way each branches conduct their monthly meetings. However, we're special and different in Arlington, of course. So our executive committee has reviewed a different agenda for tonight that includes a candidate forum. So in order for us to proceed with that, we'd need to suspend the rules. Would any member like to make that motion?
I make a motion that we suspend the rules on tonight.
Thank you, Sister Dunkley. And would anyone like to second that motion?
I'll second that motion. This is Alice Hogan.
Okay, thanks, Alice. Appreciate it. And is there any further discussion, any questions, comments? Okay, sensing none. Will all those members in favor of that motion, would you please say aye?
Aye.
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 And all those members opposing, could you please say no? Any abstentions? Great. Madam Secretary, please let the record reflect that that is a unanimous vote. At this time, I'd like to recognize any of our elected officials that have joined us. I'm scrolling through the attendee list now. Madam Secretary, do you see any elected members with us this evening?
I currently do not.
Okay, great. I imagine a few of them will pop in throughout the night. We'll do our best to recognize them in a manner that's not disruptive. Okay, great. Madam Treasurer, could you please present the September financial report?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Can I share my screen or?
Go for it.
Do you see it?
We can.
Okay. See. Trying to find my screen. Okay, so good evening, everyone. This is the September financial report for the branch. We had last month a lot of unauthorized Facebook charges on the account, and so all these Facebook refunds are corrections to those unauthorized charges. Our income was for the month $5,009.98. In expenses, we had a total of $447.48. And then, so our balances for our operations account is $10,000, $152.58 for our operations. There was no change to our reserves account. There is a balance of $8,000. And for our scholarships, we had the last 3 scholarship checks cleared. So that's the $15,000 you see that was taken out. And so our ending balance there is $185,352.04. And that is the financial report for September. Any questions?
Jane Carville White.
Okay, let's see if there are any motions on the floor. Would anyone like to make a motion potentially to receive that report as presented and subject to audit?
I make a motion that we receive the treasurer's report with necessary ordered.
Great, thank you. Would anyone like to second that?
I second.
Okay, who was that?
Nadia Conyers.
Great. Okay, there's a motion on the floor. It's been moved and properly seconded. It's to receive this September financial report as presented by the treasurer and subject to our own internal audit. Is there any further discussion? Any other questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, hearing none, will all those members in favor of that motion, could you please say aye?
Aye.
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 Okay, and all those members opposing, could you please say nay? Okay, and any abstentions? Okay, hearing none. Madam Secretary, please let the record reflect that that motion was also a unanimous vote. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move us on to the nominations report. I have been in contact with our state conference today, so I want to give a quick prelude to the report that's about to be presented. The rules did change this year for how branches across the country elect their administration for the upcoming year. And so in my haste last month, we were supposed to nominate between 5 and 15 at-large members. And so I was moving a little too quick and forgot to seek those 5. And so we will, at a time to be determined later, fill potentially those other 2 at-large positions. And Madam Treasurer, I believe you may still be sharing your screen.
It's not 5 and 15, it's 10, no less than 10, up to 24, sir.
Great, thank you for that correction, and I stand corrected. So at a date to be determined later, we will elect those additional at-large members should we have interest. And Madam Secretary, Madam Treasurer, are you able to stop sharing? Madam Treasurer? Okay,
Yeah, I'm not able to stop the
okay,
share.
let me see if I can stop it on my side. I'm gonna.
Okay. Sorry
Alright.
about that.
That's okay. All good. Okay, great. I think we were able to stop sharing. Madam Secretary, go ahead.
Yes, just trying to get some clarification in terms of, you said these appointments would take place later or will?
Yes, because the nomination period is now closed, there are no procedures for reopening the nomination period. And so we will elect or appoint those at-large members at a date to be determined later.
Wanda's hand is up.
Madam Secretary, again, go ahead.
No, that was my question, is to determine when will that determination be made? During this administration, during the next administration? Will it be the general membership voting or?
We may need to call another general membership meeting, so that will be determined at a later date.
Before this term is over or next term?
As soon as we get guidance from the state conference, Madam Secretary.
Oh, okay, I apologize. I thought you were in conference with the state.
Yeah, so the only guidance they've given was that it would need to occur at a later date.
Okay, thank you.
We can also do floor nominations tonight. If there are 8 members that would like to nominate themselves, we could avoid that additional meeting. So continue to think about that. I'd like to move us to the review of the nominations report. So would that committee please present the report?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mike. This is Laura here, and I need to share the report with you. I have it on my screen here. Let's see. Share. Give me a moment. Give me a moment. If I send this to you, Mike, or who should I send this to that would be able to share this on the screen quicker than me?
Feel free to send it over to me.
Okay, to your president or your chair address?
Sure.
Okay, I'm doing that right now. Thank you so much.
Great.
And then we'll go over it. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. Okay, there you go.
Great. Let me check my email.
Thank you again, Mike.
No problem. Just I believe this is the last item of one more item of business after this, and then we'll get into the candidate forum. So it hasn't came through yet. I have something from communications, nothing from you yet. And Laura, did you send it to my president email?
Oh, I said chair. That was wrong. Okay, sorry. Let me do that again. I apologize.
No problem. Were you having trouble sharing on your side?
Okay, one more time. And again, thank everybody for your patience. Okay, president.
At arlingtonnaacp.com.
Yep, got it. Okay. There you go.
All right. We'll let it work its way through the airwaves. Laura, if you'd like, feel free to go ahead and get started, and then as soon as it comes in, I can start to share. Maybe tell the membership a little bit about some of the work that you started to do, and then as it comes up, I can share screen.
I sent it to president@arlington.nwacp.com.
Yeah, it looks like it's still coming through. Okay, got it. Here we go, folks. Apologize about the wait. All right, Laura, can you confirm that you can see my screen? Laura?
We can see it.
Okay, great. Awesome. Go ahead, Laura.
All right, well, I wanted to present this report. And first of all, before doing that, I wanted to express my sincere and wholehearted thanks to the members of the nominations committee, Judith Knight, our secretary, Parissa Degani Tafti, Detta Kissel, and JD Spain and myself. And I wanted to say that as of our deadline on, oh, this doesn't want to screen for me. Hold on a sec. There we go. As of our, there we go. As of our deadline, this past Saturday, October 19, we did receive 8 nominations and people that consented to be nominated, members, and you can see them here on the screen. Reverend Delicia Davis consented to be nominated for president, Gary Gaston for first vice president, Wells Harrell for third vice president, Kathleen McSweeney for secretary, Karen Nightingale for, and I apologize for the misspelling, Miss Nightingale, in your last name. I'm correcting that right now. Treasurer, Adriana Spain for assistant treasurer, Whitney Kernodle for one of our at-large members, and Kellen Macbeth for one of the at-large member seats. These were the 8 folks that consented to be nominated. According to the procedures, the next step will be that our branch's secretary, Wanda Younger, will review these names to confirm whether or not they are members in good standing. And that'll happen during this meeting. And again, the nomination committee members are listed there. We met 3 times. And with the submission of this report, our business is complete and there will be no further meetings. So on behalf of the committee, I am submitting this report. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Great, thank you. And thank you to the entire committee. So at this point, I would like to see if there are any motions on the floor. And first VP, I see your hand. First VP, if you're speaking, you're on mute.
The duties of the nominating committee are not complete. They should now accept nominations from the floor for each position.
Great.
Thank you for that reminder. Thank you. The floor, thank you so much.
I actually have a couple of questions in regards to the nominees, and I believe I sent you and Ms. Knight a list of people according to the national membership database where people were not, their membership was not continuous. And I'm supposed to get verification showing that their membership is continuous. I did speak to Pastor Davis, and she's going to send me that information. And Pastor Davis, I'm not sure which email you sent it to, but if you could send it again, we're supposed to clear up any of these discrepancies before we move on.
Please look at your phone now.
Okay.
And Madam Secretary, as you're reviewing that, I did get in touch with the Secretary of Administration.
I think we've lost, if there's a conversation and I can't hear.
Okay, can you all hear me?
Yeah, there was a question of member.
Okay, Laura, I think your connection might be cutting out. Can everybody else hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, great. So it sounds like, Madam Secretary, you're in the process of receiving some type of record from our nominee for president. In light of the concern that you did raise, I did reach out to our Director of Administration as well as the state conference president. I'll read you the message. Good evening. If the 3 members can't be accepted to run for office, we will not be able to nominate a president and 2 other offices. How would you like us to proceed? I said, we believe they updated their membership to Silver Life, so they may not be showing in the general membership list as current. Our president of the state conference said they can be accepted, and our director of administration said, as a reminder, you can also take nominations from the floor.
Okay, I'm just going by the election manual saying that the membership has to be continuous. And what I'm seeing is that memberships have expired to even show membership inactive, not for Pastor Davis,
Well,
for the secretary, nominee, and I don't have your other form in front of me, and for, I believe, treasurer, if there's a break in membership. And unless they can show that their membership has remained continuous without the lapse, the expiration, then I can certify it, but I cannot certify it without that information. And I do still have a question about Pastor Davis's message that she sent. The question that I have, it shows that the purchase of Silver Life membership was made. I guess the question
a couple
is
years
this,
ago.
I'm sorry, I guess it's my question so that I could officially certify. Is this a fully paid Silver Life, Pastor Davis? Or
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay, so Pastor Davis
It shows you on what I sent you that I paid the total amount of $750.
Okay, then I can confirm that. For the secretary, it is showing that her membership is expired. I cannot confirm that unless there's proof to show otherwise. And for the treasurer, there was a lapse in membership, and I need to receive proof that that was a mistake.
Wanda, have you spoken with both of the secretary and the treasurer candidates? Because I think with the secretary, maybe it was a very short-term lapse. She just needed to, she realized it was, whatever it was, she realized she needed to pay the fee and she paid it. And I'm not sure what type of membership it was, but I believe that I don't want to speak for her, but you may want to check in with her, and she may, if there's no way, if there's no way of getting around it, then she may want to withdraw her nomination.
Well, let me jump in here real quick. Based off of the guidance we received from the state conference, they said that we should proceed. The spirit of these rules is to make sure someone doesn't just come in tonight and say, hey, I want to run for office for an AACP. So, a few of the individuals that are in question tonight have been members for over a decade.
Yeah.
That is not what the election manual says. It says if there has to be continuous membership, meaning the membership cannot expire. There's no 1 day, 2 day, it cannot expire. It has to be continuous since May the 1st.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. So here's what I'd like to propose to the membership tonight. We have received guidance from our state conference that we are good to proceed. However, we can also do nominations from the floor. So if we want to disqualify these folks from not running for office, it would be my recommendation that we do floor nominations to renominate them. And then let's go to Education Chair.
It would still be in violation of the manual.
Okay, let's go to Education Chair and then first VP.
Hi, I just wanted to be clear, are we not gonna have someone for assistant secretary and the second VP?
I can speak to that. We didn't receive anybody, there wasn't anybody that nominated themselves for that position. So at this point, nominations from the floor would be one route to go on that.
Okay,
Okay, first VP, go ahead.
Yes, you mentioned receiving guidance. Is that guidance in writing? And I don't think it should be accepted unless it is in writing.
I received it via text message. I'd be happy to drop a screenshot in the chat if it's helpful.
Who's it from?
The state conference president and the director of administration.
I've been told to go by this election manual that is based on NAACP national constitutional bylaws.
Okay, well, we are a majority rules organization, and so I believe that we should make a motion and take a vote.
Sir, we are majority rules. However, this is not a social club. This is a branch of a national organization that has bylaws. We need to follow those bylaws. We can't make up our own.
All right.
And I think the president will tell you that.
All right. So how would our membership like to proceed? Go ahead.
Could you reiterate the guidance you received earlier tonight?
Sure. All right. So let me pull this up. So earlier today, I said, hey, good evening. If the 3 members can't be accepted to run for office, we will not be able to nominate a president and 2 other offices. How should we proceed? I then sent them documentation that I received from these members showing that they're in good standing and in fact Silver Life members. And I said, we believe they updated their membership to Silver Life. They may not be showing up in the general membership list as current. And then the president says they can be accepted. And then the director of administration goes on to say, you can also take nominations from the floor. And what you sent doesn't prove there wasn't a lapse in membership.
I have proof because I pulled up the Salesforce and it showed inactive, and I took screenshots that showed inactive.
Great. And then in my conversation with the state conference president directly, I said, should we proceed in good faith with their nominations? I believe the spirit of the rules to make sure that a person doesn't just randomly raise their hand. These individuals have been members within AACP for a decade. And he says, yes.
This is not in good faith when their membership has lapsed. It has not been continuous.
Okay, great. So in order for us to move forward, I believe that so I see a hand. Is that right? Let's go to Miss Judith. Go ahead, and then I'll make a recommendation.
I was just wondering if this matter could be tabled until after the quorum, when we have the rest of the meeting to straighten this out.
Okay, I think that's a fair proposal.
Looks like Madam Past President says she can't raise her hand to speak, but she'd like to speak.
Okay, Past President, go ahead.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Good evening.
You.
Thank you so much. I'm unable to raise my hand in the car. Yeah, so I absolutely understand the process. And if I am not eligible to be a candidate, I'm fine with that. I am a subscribing Silver Life member. I did that I did it last year. For some reason, it didn't show up in the membership. I had to go submit it. I didn't submit it again, but I was able to get the credit for what I had already done. And of course, I had sent to the president, and I'll be happy to share it with anyone else, my card that states it. But if there was a lapse and I don't know about it, then I will absolutely withdraw. I don't want to not follow the rules. But I thought I was a continual member. Just wanted to let that know.
Great. Thank you, Laura. I see your hand, Madam Secretary. Go ahead, and then Laura will go to you.
Okay. Oh, Wanda's going first.
I see her hand. Madam Secretary.
I'm sorry, I will lower it for now.
Okay, Laura, go ahead, and then Housing Chair, go ahead.
Okay, so I was going to support Judith's suggestion that we table this for now and go to the candidates forum, because we do have members that are here, candidates who are here and they have busy schedules, and then return to this afterwards. And that would not only provide Madam Secretary the opportunity to maybe go revisit those records and really confirm or not, that somebody is in good standing or not, but it also would give people on the call, members on the call, the opportunity to think about nominating themselves from the floor for some of our positions that were remained open, that we got no nominations for. That includes second vice president, assistant secretary, and other at-large members. And if it turns out that regrettably some of our nominees are not in good standing, then folks could think about that too. So if we go to the candidate forum first, we can go through that process. Folks will have time to think about whether they want to put themselves forward for either any of these open positions or some that might become open because of membership status. And Madam Secretary will have time to really comb through those membership records to confirm or not membership status.
Okay, great. I believe that was a motion. Before I come back to you, Madam Secretary, I see you raise your hand again.
No, I apologize.
Okay, great. Laura, would you like to make a formal motion to table this discussion item till after the candidate forum?
Yes, I would like to move to table this discussion until after the candidate forum.
Great. Would anyone like to second that motion?
Second.
Thank you. I think that was second VP. Any further discussion? Any questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, sensing none, all those members in favor of that motion, would you please signify by saying aye?
Aye.
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 Great. And all those members who oppose, could you please say nay? And any members abstaining? Okay, great. Madam Secretary, please capture that vote as a unanimous vote to table this discussion. We'll return to this report, the vote, and the nomination of the next administration following the candidate forum. Okay, folks, at this time, I'd like to bring up.
I do have one more question.
Go ahead,
In
Madam
terms
Secretary.
of electing the Election Advisory Commission, is that going to be tabled as well after the candidate forum?
Yes, I believe once we are squared away with our nominations report, the acceptance or rejection of that report, any floor nominations will proceed to elect the 5 election supervisory committee members.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Madam Political Action Chair, are you with us this evening?
Yes.
Okay, great. Good evening. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing good. I'm going to see if I can bring you up. I want to transition the floor over to you. Thank you for your patience. I know we're running a couple minutes behind. Go ahead and take it away.
Can you spotlight our education chair as well?
I sure can.
Thank you. Perfect. Thank you so much, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the NAACP Arlington branch and our political action and education committees, we would like to welcome to our candidate forum for the November 5th general election. My name is Jen Marie Pena. I'm the chair of our political action committee, and I'm joined by Teal Alfred, the chair of our education committee, and we're excited to get us started tonight. So programs like the forum we're hosting tonight are vital to our civic engagement. So we hope to have an informative conversation with the candidates that will allow you to leave the program engaged, informed, and better prepared to vote. Now pass it to our education chair, Tia.
Yes, as a reminder, the NAACP is a nonpartisan organization. We welcome people of all political parties and do not make any endorsements. We are not advocating for any political party or candidate today. This program is about civic engagement and education. In the chat, we're going to drop a link now that will direct you to more information on the upcoming general election on November 5th, including the candidates running for each office, sample ballots, and info on how to vote. It will be Arlington elections info, and then it should be in there, vote.arlingtonva.gov elections. For tonight's program, we invited all candidates who are running in the upcoming general election for the county board, school board, and House of Representatives 8th district seats. Just to describe our format for today, We'll start with a discussion with our county board candidates, followed by a discussion with our school board candidates, and then we'll end the evening with a discussion with our House of Representative candidates. Shortly, we'll introduce Darlene Robinson, who will be moderating the forum with our county board candidates. I will be moderating the forum with our school board candidates, and Jan Marie will be moderating the discussion with our House of Representative candidates. During each discussion, wait a minute. Oh my goodness. During each discussion, we'll ask a series of questions that are important to the work we're doing in our branch, rotating who will answer first. And the chat will be displayed during the forum, but you can share questions you have directly with the host. And now I'll turn it back over to Jan Marie.
Thanks, Tia. So now I'm really pleased to introduce our moderator for the County Board Forum, Ms. Darlene Robinson. So Darlene is a longtime resident of Arlington County with several generations of family who lived here, some of whom came up through the Underground Railroad. She was born in Washington, D.C., but raised here in Arlington County in the Green Valley neighborhood. She was and is now a member of the Mount Zion Baptist Church of Arlington, which is one of the oldest churches in the region and is one of the branches of the Old Bell Church out of Freedman's Village. Having witnessed the explosive growth and the changes in Arlington County over the years, Darlene is an advocate for positive change both here in the county and in her community. She loves reading, writing, and journaling. She considers herself a futurist and a visionary who loves to challenge people's and her own ways of thinking. Darlene loves to use history as a tool for meaningful change and hopes to expand on the ever-changing atmosphere in Arlington by establishing the Green Family History Reading Room, which would encourage other families who have long histories here in Arlington to check out their own family history and the people who came to this region to make our lives better. And with that knowledge, create an even better future, whether here in Arlington or elsewhere. Darlene is a proud mother of 3 children and 2 grandchildren. So with that, I'll pass it to Darlene. And if you could spotlight Darlene and our 4 candidates for County Board, that would be great.
Good evening, everyone. All candidates who are running in this general election for the Arlington County Board race were invited to participate. Joining us for our discussion tonight, we have all candidates for this race, Ms. Audrey Clement, Mr. Juan Carlos Fierro, Ms. Madison Granger, and Mr. Julius J.D. Spain. For this discussion, each candidate will have 2 minutes to give an opening statement, 30 seconds or 1 minute or 30 seconds to answer the additional questions, and 1 minute for a closing statement. We will rotate who answers questions first and jump in when your time is up. So our first question is a quick yes or no question. And that is, to start, please let us know if you are a member of the NAACP. We'll go in alphabetical order by the candidates' last names for this one. So Ms. Clement.
No, I am not a member of the NAACP.
Mr. Fierro.
No, I am not a member of the NAACP.
Ms. Granger.
I am not a member either. So no.
Mr. Spain.
Yes, I'm a member.
Okay, so for the next question, well, the next one will be the opening statements. You'll each be given 2 minutes. We will now give you 2 minutes for, during your statement, please highlight what your top priorities would be for your term in office and how these priorities would affect Black and other community members of color in Arlington. We'll go in the same order, starting with Ms. Clement.
Thank you for inviting me to this forum. I'm Audrey Clement, the independent candidate for Arlington County Board. I've lived in Westover for 20 years, where I enjoy the convenience of a bike-friendly community accessible to public transportation. In addition to a PhD in political science from Temple University, I've served on the Transportation Commission, the Civic Federation, and Arlington Neighborhoods Advisory Committee. I'm running for County Board to challenge excessive taxation and missing middle upzoning. Earlier this year, the county manager reported that he could balance the budget without a tax hike. Thus, there was no need for County Board to adopt a budget that increased the effective tax rate by 5.1%, which is about double the average 10-year rate of inflation. The watchword of the American Revolution was taxation without representation is tyranny. Yet my Democrat opponent, J.D. Spain, resides in a tax-exempt property in South Arlington. While I don't begrudge J.D. any tax exemptions to which he is entitled, I doubt that anyone who pays little or no real estate tax, either directly or indirectly through their rent, can fairly represent those of us who do. I also oppose the so-called missing middle ordinance adopted by the board in 2023. That was recently overturned in circuit court. Missing middle, also known as EHO, upzoned residential neighborhoods throughout the county. Yet EHO is nothing more than a revenue-generating cash cow designed to offset a declining commercial tax base. EHO will not redress exclusionary zoning because the housing it creates will not be affordable to most minorities. Vote Clement for County Board on November the 5th. If you share my agenda, then volunteer or donate to my campaign at audreyclement.com and help make the Arlington Way more than an empty phrase. Thank you.
Mr. Fierro.
It's great to be with you. My name is Juan Carlos Fierro. I am a 27-year resident of Arlington. I am a father. I am a husband. I am also a businessman. The reason that I am running is to give people a second choice of a different perspective. The issues are very important to the community. I am against missing middle. I am against higher taxes, and we need to be able to fix the budget with the schools and Metro. There's a tragedy going on because the board has decided, or most likely will decide, to be able to appeal the decision of the judge. Is going to be another fight. So basically, they're fighting against the taxpayers that are not only putting the money, but they have voted them into office. I think it was I have attended earlier your discussion about the new nominees, and I think that's the way it should be. Somebody withdraw because they don't qualify. There was talk about doing it the right way. We are here to discuss and to be open to different perspectives. I am looking forward to answering your questions truthfully. Thank you.
Ms. Granger.
Hi, my name's Madison Granger. I'm fortunate to live in Green Valley, where my husband and I own a condo in a charming neighborhood near the WNOD and 4 Mile Run bike trails and Jenny Dean Park. We're both health nuts, environmentalists, and products of military families. I work in the fitness industry and frequently volunteer my time empowering young women, including coaching Girls on the Run at Dorothy Ham Middle School and leading workouts at a home for disadvantaged girls. I'm a bridge builder. When I ran track at Duke University, I was chosen to represent 10,000 of my fellow student athletes in the NCAA legislative process. In this role, I helped coaches, athletes, and administrators find common ground on complex, heated issues. I'm a candidate for the Forward Party, which was founded by Andrew Yang. Forwardists like me look at systems. So Arlington has a one-party system, as it's been mentioned. Those who aren't party loyalists aren't always well represented, and that's something that I would like to see change in our system. We get policies like missing middle that, in my view, have divided the community and embroiled us in lawsuits, and I think we can do better. That's why I support reforms like ranked choice voting and districting. I think better systems will help yield better results. Some of my priorities are more common ground solutions on housing. When we pass legislation that doesn't have enough buy-in across different groups in the community, I think we leave ourselves vulnerable to lawsuits. And also, I should say, policies that don't have enough buy-in and also haven't followed some of the procedures required for state law. So we end up spending taxpayer dollars on legal fees. And I think that most would agree that that's not the way we want to be using our taxpayer dollars. We can benefit so many more in our community if we are able to use those towards initiatives that benefit. I mean, we're going to talk tonight about all sorts of things that can benefit everyone in our community, including people of color, and we need to have our tax dollars not going to lawsuits. I know I'm at time, so thank you.
Okay, and Mr. Spain. You're on mute.
Good evening, everyone. NAACP. I am Julius J.D. Spain Sr., a almost 16-year resident of Penrose community here in Arlington. I am also a retired 26-year veteran, combat veteran, who's also disabled from the United States Marine Corps. I served as a federal investigator. I served on Capitol Hill. I served on a diplomatic assignment. And I've also served on a number of commissions here in Arlington and working groups. I am a community advocate by trade, come out of the civil rights era. And so the questions that you asked us was to be pretty much succinct in what our priorities are. And of those priorities, what are we trying to accomplish and how is it going to help Black and brown folks? I would also tell you that in this space, it's not the first time that as a Black man, person of color that's come under attack. It's become commonplace here in Arlington. But when you have a community, and I looked at the data today, where we have over 50% minority population, as people other than white in Arlington, they need a voice as well. So one of the reasons I'm running is so those diverse perspectives can be heard on the county board, which have not been heard, in my opinion, over the years. Some of my priorities are public health, public education, public safety, economic security, making sure we have thriving businesses, but also environmental sustainability. And of all those programs, if I had to pick one that is really sincere and I'm passionate about, is working in the public health space. Right now, we have challenges with our youth, with the young adults when it comes to mental health and behavioral crisis. I think we can do more as a county to help those along the way. But also, let's not forget that those same people also need adequate housing and attainable housing. Many folks know me as a pro-housing advocate, and I will continue to be a pro-housing advocate through and through. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you each candidate for your opening statements. We're going to move on to a political action question. On several occasions, the county board has demonstrated that their willingness to push through changes that impact our community without working with us. Earlier this year, the board quietly introduced legislation that would have made many changes to the Civilian Oversight Board. And just recently, the board voted to completely disband the Human Rights Commission and change the scope of this body with minimal engagement from the community. If elected, what will you do differently to equitably engage the community in the county board's decision-making? And this time I'm going to start with Mr. Fierro.
Well, we have to be able to listen and to work together. We are a divided country and a divided county, and therefore we need to come together to be able to fix all these problems. The vote, it was a 4-1 vote and the one vote was Susan Cunningham. We are seeing that there is a discrepancy on the voting that has started. And it's up to the people of Arlington, Arlingtonians, that they are going to be able to have a different perspective if that's what they want. If they don't want that, it's going to be the same old thing. Actually, we have the same problems last year than this year. And it's up to the people to be able to elect people that can represent. I am also a Hispanic American, and I have been discriminated, and I am able to be able to listen and to act on all the things that the people want. People are afraid of talking. People are afraid that their neighbors know that they are Republicans or they are independents, and that cannot be. We live in a community where we need to be open. We need to be able to accept each other, and therefore I am trying to be the bridge between the ones that are not heard and the ones that are taking advantage of each other. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Granger, you're next.
You're muted.
Apologies, I was talking on mute. I have now unmuted myself. I'll say that when it comes to dealing with, you mentioned the civil rights, or the Human Rights Commission, and I think with dealing with commissions or any of the advisory groups, I would take an approach of wanting to be challenged in the sense that more perspectives make us stronger. I think that there can be echo chambers in our government and our leadership ranks. And, I talk about consensus building in my campaign, but I actually see if you have more diverse perspectives, you have less consensus in the short term, but I think that's really healthy. I think that having more perspectives, having more disagreement makes us better because it makes us have to find compromise, and that makes better solutions. So having an attitude shift that really embraces that and doesn't shy away from people who are challenging the perspectives of our leaders, but allowing there to be healthy conflict. Also, you talk about engaging the community. I think that there's, some perspectives are harder to obtain. I think that the county has work to do in meeting people where they're at, and making the information about the initiatives they're working on more accessible. And I'd like to see them do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Spain.
Yes. So I'll see if I can answer the question here that you asked. Community Oversight Board first. Being one of the key folks about 3.5 years ago who advocated strongly for a Community Oversight Board, and been able to watch their actions over the past couple of years, I know there's more that needs to be done, like get in the community and speak with the folks, which they have not been allowed to do. So with that being said, they have been resource constrained. There's a lot of investigations that they're going over, but I believe that is a oversight commission that we need to keep in place and build out in a very robust manner. When we think about the Human Rights Commission, I often say there's a wrong way to do the right thing. And I think the call, what the county board did was actually premature, and that we should have had more community discussion before they made that decision. I won't get into all the folks I spoke with, but I know Susan perhaps made the right call, and that's the call I would have made, because I believe that the public did not know everything that was going on with the Human Rights Commission. And so with that being said, there's some work to be done. We need to also look closely at how our commissions are engaging the community. All of them aren't, and they need to be. They need to be efficient, they need to be thorough, but they need to be well balanced. And so with me on the county board, that's going to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Clement?
Yes, I recently sent an e-blast to my supporters, informing them that on Tuesday, August 27th at 1 p.m. In the afternoon on a weekday, Arlington County dissolved its Human Rights Commission. It also amended Arlington County Code to create a new commission with a smaller board and a much more limited mission. So what prompted the county board's dead of night move to axe the HRC? In February 2024, the HRC sent a letter to the U.S. Department of Justice requesting that it investigate a number of recent deaths at the county jail. County board and others have construed HRC's move as rank insubordination, since county commissions are supposed to be advisory only. Yet the HRC explicitly cited the authority for its letter in Arlington County Code, a section of which clearly authorized HRC's letter to DOJ. No more. Under a new section of Arlington County Code adopted on August 27th, HRC is required to get written approval from the county board to correspond with external agencies. Not only that, the new ordinance explicitly denies HRC jurisdiction to hear complaints about human rights violations from county government workers. That authority now presumably devolves upon the county manager and the unions, which is in effect getting the fox to guard the hen house. If you have issues with the county's heavy-handed tactics in disbanding its own Human Rights Commission, rest assured I do too. Is that time?
Yes. Okay, so our next question is also a political action question, and it's a yes or no question. Arlington's current form of government was established in 1930. It is well documented that the county changed its form of government to weaken the political power of Black voters in Arlington. In the nearly 100 years that have followed since 1930, only 4 people of color have been elected to the Arlington County Board. If elected, would you support efforts at the state level to give Arlington the authority to restructure the current form of government? We'll go in the same order, starting with Mr. Fierro.
Yes, I will support it, and I think that things need to be changed. Since 1930, things have changed, so we need to update our number of board members, maybe to 7, and then, if necessary, to be able that the people elect a mayor, if necessary. So I will support it 110%. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Granger?
I also, excuse me, I also am in support of pursuing state level changes that would allow Arlington to update its form of government. I'm in favor of us having real conversations about districting and about electing board members in batches, so having more 2 or even 3 seat races less frequently, because I think that that allows us to better represent the diversity of Arlington in the way that we, again, it's systems. So it's I love to talk about this stuff because it's all about what the Forward Party's about, and stuff that I think about often is, are we doing the systems piece of government well to get the outcomes that we want?
Your time is up.
Thank you.
Who's next? Mr. Spain?
The answer is yes. And, you can go back to Bill Newman, Judge Bill Newman, 1987, Charles P. Monroe, Christian Dorsey, you can add in Walter Tejada, minorities. So from 1930 to 1987, that's the period of time you do not have a person of color on the board. That is unsatisfactory. And in a county now that is not the same as it was in 1930 at nearly 240,000 people, I think we need to look holistically about how our form of government operates, and is what we have right now the best thing. We're going to put forward a commission, and it's going to get buy-in, and we're going to go to the communities, and we're going to get buy-in from stakeholders and community before we make a decision. But I'm in support of looking at that, changing our form of government.
Ms. Clement?
County board's at-large system of representation, because it's as undemocratic in its operation as it was racist in its origins. According to local historian Sherman Pratt, the adoption of the current at-large system in 1930 was contemporaneous with the announcement by Black leaders of their plans to run for local office in one of the county's 3 districts. Replacing these districts with an at-large board thwarted Black political ambitions for several generations. Because board members are not accountable to their neighbors, it has also served to silence any neighborhood or civic organization that opposes county board on any matter, large or small. Adding 2 more at-large seats to the—
That's time. Okay, so our next question is going to be directed towards our criminal justice system. This is a yes or no question with 30 seconds each for each of you. In the last few years, 4 people experiencing homelessness, 3 of whom were charged with trespassing and 1 held for failing to pay a due child support, died in jail. 3 were people of color. The Arlington County Sheriff's Office and Police Department have discretion to release the records of their death investigations to the public, but have refused. Do you support urging the release of the records to the public? Ms. Granger, we'll start with you.
I will say yes. I believe in government transparency, and I think that the public has a right to know. So my answer is yes.
Mr. Spain?
Unless there's some legality that prohibits our current county from releasing those documents, I'm in agreement. They should be released. But I also want to go a step further to something the community, the NAACP, has advocated for many years, and that is an independent investigation from the Department of Justice, something that I believe that we need here in Arlington. Thank you.
Ms. Clement?
Well, I agree with Mr. Spain on all points, but I want to point out that because the Human Rights Commission has been hobbled in its operation with a new charter that prevents it from communicating with external bodies like DOJ, this investigation, the DOJ will not undertake this investigation, okay? And in all likelihood, these records will not be released. But again, I do want to underscore that I agree with Mr. Spain that we need to establish any possible legal reason why the release of these records has not been done.
Time. And Mr. Fierro?
I will say yes. And my issue is, why are those records not being released? What are they hiding? So therefore, we need to, being able to see what really happened and why it happened. But that's one of the issues. They are not releasing it for what reason? What are they hiding? Thank you.
It would lead someone to believe that there would be something hiding. So our next answer is a follow-up to this criminal justice question, and you'll each be given a minute and a half to do some follow-up on this. Now, Arlington County government has not publicly studied or urged any action on why these community members were initially arrested instead of diverted to shelter or crisis care and continued to be held instead or instead of being released. What actions would you take to understand why these community members were not diverted and to ensure that similarly situated people, meaning homeless people, are diverted in the future? I'm going to start with you, Ms. Granger.
Sure. So thanks. So I think anytime that a major error happens in an organization, and this is a major error, right? These are lives lost in our community that should not have been lost. I think that organizations have it upon themselves to ask the question why 5 times. It's called a 5 whys analysis. Oftentimes you're not digging deep enough if you don't ask the question why enough times. And I think that, I know that our police force and our sheriff's office are short-staffed. I don't know if that has something to do with it. There might be some things that, are areas in which Arlington has been falling short of its goals and how it wants to serve its people that might be, surfaced in an unpleasant way when we dig into this and ask that question. But we can't grow unless we are willing to look those things and unearth those and be transparent with the public about them. So I would encourage us to embark in that kind of study, ask the question why 5 times, and see where it lands and be transparent in releasing what we find with the public.
Okay, Mr. Spain, you're next.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of work, NAACPers and folks on the call that we need to do. I just want to share with you that about 2 weeks ago, I was at the post office on South Glebe, and it was about 9 o'clock at night, and I walked in, and there was a lady sleeping on the floor in there. And what I did is I called the non-emergency number because I wanted to see firsthand how long it took a police officer or anyone to show up. It took about 10 minutes. But I stayed there until they came and found out where she wanted to go, and we asked her. She did not want to go to a shelter. She just went on her merry way. We have a lot of folks like that in Arlington who, even if you try to give them services or offer them services or are homeless, they don't want to go. But underneath all of that is some other issues that need to be addressed with them. And so I think, it's not just all on the police department. It's not all just on the sheriff's department. I think we need to have a number of diversion programs for these folks early on in their lives, all the way through folks who perhaps have lost a home and found themselves living on the street. We have all of that going on right here in Arlington. So we have made some strides, but there's a lot of work to be done. And I'm very mindful that our police department and sheriff's department and others are well understaffed. They can't be everywhere. So we got to figure out other ways and other means to divert these folks, but they have to also want the help. And some of them just do not. I've seen it firsthand.
All right, Ms. Clement, you're next.
Well, actually, I agree with Mr. Spain again. But I have another point to make here, and that is that on Saturday, the county heard an item having to do with the expansion of recovery houses in Arlington County. And one of the people who testified on behalf of this is a mitigation specialist for the Public Defender's Office. And she primarily supported this ordinance because even though she is able to divert a number of individuals from incarceration, she has no place to put them. Now, in this connection, I would like to point out that missing middle isn't going to help her, because the units that it's producing are out of the range of the average person of color in the county, let alone somebody who is destitute. So I would just want to put that in. Now, my own testimony on the recovery houses was somewhat critical, not because I oppose recovery houses, but because there is no enforcement mechanism for a house that is not in compliance with various regulations in the zoning code. And there's no there's no Virginia statute that requires enforcement. So so even if we are fortunate enough to expand our recovery houses to house these people, we have a situation where these people might be further exploited and abused in the recovery houses. Okay.
That's time. Mr. Fierro?
Yes. So I think that we should look into case by case basis. I know that when somebody is sleeping outside in the cold or in the warm weather, there may be some mental issues, and we have to do studies to find out what's really going on. I am all for it to have a police force and the sheriffs and firefighters to be able to have grants and loans to be able to live close by in the county so that they can attend to all these problems. That's a way to recruit and to be able to fill all the empty offices and empty cars that we have from the police force. The people will need to put together a budget where we are able to see what are the problems with each individual. We cannot, not because one person is sleeping outside, everybody has the same problems and the same issues. So we have to see what is best for us. And that's, that's what I think. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone for your comments. Our next question has to do with housing. Now, I personally think that this affordable housing terminology is misleading, because affordable requires, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that you make like $100,000, $120,000 per year to be affordable to Arlington. So many times people confuse that term with low-income housing, which has a really nasty taste in some people's mouths because it sometimes denotes what people don't want in their neighborhoods. So we're hoping that as we build a stronger Arlington, we'll get much more conversation about how to be more inclusive of even some of what we may think is undesirable. So for the next question, you're each going to get a minute and a half for this. It says the county has been presented with proposals to build committed affordable homes on the Melwood and Clarendon Presbyterian Church properties. These properties would create opportunities for community members with low incomes to live in wealthy residential neighborhoods. But some homeowners have pushed back. Do you support these projects? And how would you weigh the need for more affordable housing against the concerns of these neighbors? This time we're going to start with Mr. Spain.
Thank you for the question. Let's make no mistake about it. Housing is a human right, and we're in a crisis, not only in Arlington, but across this region and our nation in housing shortage. When I think about, what's going on in Melwood and Clarendon, the folks in those communities, that they have a unique concern. And however, I believe there's ways to mitigate those concerns and move forward in a manner where we can have adequate housing for our seniors, for our early career professionals. The possibilities are endless. I do not want to turn off the art of the possible and just say no to everything. We in Arlington are going to have to find innovative ways to build more housing here, all right? We're estimated to have around 300,000 people in Arlington in the next 10 years. Everyone's not going to be a renter. Some of these people want to buy homes, whether that's in a quadplex, whether that's another single family home, but we can do that here in Arlington. The art of the possible, and I think we're selling ourselves short by not looking at that. Of housing and affordability, we know right now that wages perhaps have not caught up with the cost of living, but I think we can walk and chew gum here in Arlington. So again, at Melwood and Clarendon, we need to mitigate the areas that people have concerns, but ultimately I believe we need to do what's best for our community. And I think there's a way to find that sweet spot and compromise as a county and a community. Okay?
Thank you. Ms. Clement, would you like to go next?
So I attended a hearing on the Melwood matter not too long ago, and I support the community. Their objections are twofold. Number one, this development would destroy and tear down a historic structure on South 23rd Street. Also, it will have, because it's at least a 6-story building, it will tower over all the buildings in the immediate vicinity. And number three, it will have major impacts on transportation, congestion, possibly runoff, tree canopy, the usual impacts that homeowners are concerned about. Number four, and I think this is the most important point, there is an alternative. There are numerous vacant buildings in Crystal City. In fact, not too long ago, I believe I was canvassing and approached by a gentleman who lives in Crystal City and who was concerned about the vacant properties that line Crystal Drive. In other words, Melwood, the complex that Melwood contemplates for handicapped individuals could find a home somewhere in a vacant building on Crystal Drive, but JBG refuses to do office to residential conversions. So I think the real ogre here are not the people, the homeowners who don't want to have infill development in their communities. I think the real ogre here are the developers who refuse to consider alternatives to office in commercial buildings.
That's
And
thank you. That's time. Okay, so Mr. Fierro.
I have to agree with Audrey that we should start doing some of the conversion from office buildings to apartment buildings. Because, for example, Washington, D.C. has already started. And my understanding is that is going, pretty well. And we have to do it. I mean, we don't need to do it at the same time, 10 buildings, but we can start one by one to see what is the best for each neighborhood. We also have to do all the studies that that Melwood and Clarendon need to be able to see if that's something that a neighborhood can take. We just talk and talk in reference to or the board just votes and votes. And but we need to do the studies, what is necessary to be able to find out if that's something that each neighborhood can accept. And that's what I think. Thank you.
Ms. Granger?
So at the beginning of your question, you talked about terminology and confusion. And I do want to just draw on that for a moment, because I think that's important. And I think that's something that we've struggled with in recent policy efforts. And that was part of the whole snafu with missing middle, or EHO, is confusion in the community about what we're talking about when we talk about affordable housing. And so I think as leaders, we need to think about new terminologies, even if it's just, denoting capital A affordable housing, committed affordable housing, versus housing that is more affordable than other housing, and giving people more options. So I just want to call that out, because confusion, it only hampers our ability to discuss contentious issues like this and find compromises that we can all live with. I am generally supportive of the conversion efforts at Clarendon Church and Melwood, in terms of, I say this often, I don't think we can freeze Arlington in time. We need to allow our community to be able to evolve to meet changing needs. But I do think we should have a process that allows for rigorous input, and to ensure that real quality of life issues like congestion and tree canopy are incorporated into solutions and policy objectives that we pursue. So I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have a question on economic development and labor, and you'll each be given a minute and a half for this question. How do you plan to ensure that economic development initiatives in Arlington County are inclusive and equitable, particularly in addressing the disparities in business ownership and income experienced by Black and other community members of color? And I would add, especially in light of our past here in Arlington. And we are going to start with Ms. Clement for this question.
I can attest to the fact that Arlington County is a corporate-friendly business environment, as I recently worked for a fast-growing startup headquartered in Boston. Yet retailers are struggling. According to a Publishers Weekly story, the county government's new methods of raising revenue have brought a certain bookstore owner to the brink. Occupancy costs, which were 4% of overhead a few years ago, are now 17%, due in part to a 30% real estate tax hike. The Board of Assessors sent a letter explaining that properties like hers would now be taxed based on the property owner's net income rather than the tenant's. If elected, I will ask the county auditor to activate an audit of the county's real estate assessment and appeals practices, which is listed under the auditor's work plan even now. And the hope would be that he would find that the tax assessment process, or the methodology used, requires review.
Thank you. Mr. Fierro?
I'm going to ask you if you can pose that question again.
Okay, it says, how do you plan to ensure that economic development initiatives in Arlington County are inclusive and equitable, particularly in addressing the disparities in business ownership and income experienced by Black and other communities of color?
Well, I think that we need to, because of the income that the businesses are not having, because maybe of the down economy, or the issues with empty office buildings, we need to be able to give tax breaks to the different businesses, so that they first of all, they stay in business. We will be able to continue with that revenue, even though it is smaller than before. And we need to give incentives to all these small business owners that are opening opening restaurants, opening different kinds of businesses, so that they can continue to be able to be to be as prosperous as they can be. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Granger?
Hi. So, one of the things that comes to mind here for me is permitting processes and holding ourselves accountable on what our permitting processes are like. I know there was an article in RL Now just last month about how permitting problems are still going on in Arlington. I work for a small business that has only 5 or 6 employees. It's in Falls Church. But I know that when we had permitting delays, we had to cover double rent for several extra months, and it cost my small business that I'm an employee for thousands of dollars, and or tens, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it was, I think it was, I'm sorry, $30,000 in permitting delays. And I know that we're pushing costs onto businesses when we are not accountable to helping their applications move through our system in a timely way. I live in Green Valley, and we're trying to have a farmers market in Green Valley. And I know that Portia Clark, who's trying to organize that effort, has faced permitting delays in that initiative as well. And that's a great thing for our community that is being delayed because we have inefficient county processes. And sometimes things can get stuck in black holes. So I think we need to hold ourselves accountable and track our statistics for how fast things are moving through, where do they get stuck, and see that as part of the problem and a real way that the county can help this group and help itself, because we're making more tax revenue if we get these businesses approved sooner. There's no one who benefits through inefficient permitting processes.
Thank you. Mr. Spain?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Ms. Granger stated, but let me tell you something. I patronize a lot of businesses in Arlington. Many of you may know that. And what I hear going on is that overhead. The cost of leasing is skyrocketing. There's no control on that. You know, they're having to pay $7,000 a month for rent, and sometimes they're only bringing in X amount of dollars. So businesses aren't thriving like they used to be, right? I can see that firsthand right here on Columbia Pike. But how are we going to get our minority-owned businesses, our small women-owned businesses involved, is that we're going to have to use all levers of county government, whether that's working with Arlington Economic Development, the bids, working with our grant team or whatever to work with the national government. There's grants within federal government for small businesses, for startups, even here locally in Arlington, that we don't even apply for, that we should be helping these folks apply for in their businesses. Columbia Pike, where I live at, nearby, has signs up and down the street saying businesses are still open. We have projects that have been going on Columbia Pike for 2 years, should have taken a year. And it's hurting our businesses, and we're not efficient, we're not effective, and we gotta work at home, right? We gotta do that first. So we've lost a lot of businesses, but there's ways for them to stick around if we help them. And we're going to have to get our partners at Arlington Economic Development, the folks that are working at the chamber, and everyone on tune to make this happen, because it can't just be the county board. It's an all hands on deck approach to help these small businesses that we've been losing.
Thank you. In the interest of getting the rest of our candidates a good time, we're going to do our closing remarks for this section of our forum. I'm going to just say that I do believe that Arlington County is one of the best counties. I did grow up here, although I think that you should not have to be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company in order to live in the place where you grew up. I believe that you should put people before profit, and I'm not sure that we're always in that direction. I personally would love to continue to live in Arlington. I have plenty family members here, and I only have one family member who currently owns property here in Arlington. So with that said, and with the thought of we the people, for which our country and our county is supposed to reflect, in our closing statements, for which each of you will be given 1 minute, I'll now want to ask you, during your statement, your closing statement, please highlight what specific actions you will commit to that will make Arlington more equitable to all people of color. We're going to start with Mr. Spain. I'm sorry, we're I was asked to start in a different order today. Ms. Clement, would you like to start for us?
Sure. The choice in this year's county board race is clear. Elect a Democrat who supports the county's tax and spend agenda, or a fiscal conservative like me who will roll back tax increases. Believe the myth that a 5.1% tax hike was needed to balance the budget, or accept the fact that you are being tax gouged to appease the county's favored gimme groups. It's your choice. Either swallow the lie that missing middle will remedy racial wrongs, or accept the fact that it will force existing minority homeowners out of their homes and make it even harder for others to qualify for a mortgage. If elected to county board, I won't push wasteful housing programs at the expense of libraries, parks, and public safety. If you are dissatisfied with the direction of county board, now is your opportunity. Vote Clement, Independent, for county board on November the 5th, because county board needs more than a rubber stamp.
Thank you. Mr. Fierro.
Thank you for the opportunity to talk to your memberships. I think that the board needs a change in reference to everything. They need to be able to listen to the people, to be able to do things for the people. We know that we're going through some tough times, not only in the county but all over, and we need to be able to work these things out. No more lawsuits. Is not taking us anywhere. Is spending our money that we have elected our officials to be able to represent us, to make us live in a better place, and that's not being done. Somebody at the county board level is not doing their job. Therefore, so many people are unhappy. I know that you have a favorite candidate for county board, and that's fine. That's not a problem. The issue here is that because of ranked choice voting, and only at this time, I will not get upset. I will not be mad. I will not be
That's time.
be mad. But I can always be your second choice. Thank you and good night.
Ms. Granger.
So, one party rule is not healthy and vibrant democracy. It's led to divisive policies and frustration across our community. And I, like many of us, am tired of broken politics. I believe we need more than two parties nationally, and we need more than one party here in Arlington. I'm a new face in Arlington politics, but I am experienced. I help the NCAA navigate difficult issues despite passionate opinions on all sides. That took the kind of analytical thinking and pragmatic compromise that yields consensus. I'd like to use those skills to help our community. I see the recent overturn of the EHO policy as an opportunity to go back to the community, find more discussion, and trade-offs, right? And you mentioned it when you were giving the prompt for our closing statement about equity and about people being able to continue to live here. And I think as we look at how our community is going to grow and our housing solutions, how do we balance the needs of the people who are coming into our community with the people who've been in our community for a long time? I'm a member of the Green Valley Civic Association. I'm very sensitive to the history of this community and how vibrant it is. And I'd like to bring that into these discussions and safeguard people who've lived here with the people who are coming next. So thank you, Madison Granger for County Board.
And Mr. Spain.
Well, thank you everyone and NAACP for having us all here tonight. I think we have one more forum and we'll be done. But let me just say a few things. One, NAACP, had it not been for a lawsuit, we would not have integrated schools. So we can't shy away from a lawsuit as a community and even as citizenry. Sometimes a lawsuit is needed, right? But I just want to remind people of that. Lawsuits aren't evil things. But had it not been for a lawsuit, we would have never integrated schools here in Virginia. I'm not a single issue candidate. We've heard a lot talk about in housing here, right? You need a candidate that understands environmental sustainability, what's going on with our safety, what's going on with housing, right? I get all of that. What's going on in public health. And also I want to say about this one party rule. Well, I'll tell you what I'm doing for the general election. I'm voting for Democrats because anything less, in my opinion, would be uncivilized. And when we think about the Arlington County election, where we have Democrats on the ballot, all of whom are progressive, what I'm going to bring to the table is a unique perspective that's going to represent over half of our population, which is of a minority race. I have 33 years of experience working in the public space. I have a wife. Thank you very much for your time. And it's an honor to be here before you tonight. Thank you.
I do want to thank each and every one of you candidates for coming tonight and sharing your opinions with us. And we wish you all good luck in the upcoming election. Now we're going to pass it on to our other candidates and give them an opportunity to speak as well. Thank you.
Excuse me, do we need to stay for the other meetings or no?
The county board forum is closed, so if you wanted to stay for the other ones, you can. If you don't, you can leave.
Very good, thank you. Good night.
So now we're going to move to our school board forum. So we'll spotlight Tia, who will be moderating, our education chair, and our school board candidates. One second.
Oh, okay.
A few minutes to transition.
Give me one sec, having some tech issues. Can you try spotlighting? It's not letting me on my side.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Okay, I think I got it. Okay.
So you still have Audrey up from the last one.
Yes, sorry.
Okay. I think you're good to go, right?
We have one more person.
Well, I think there's one
I
more.
think we have
Oh, there
everyone
he
now.
is. Okay, yes, there we go.
Thank
Okay. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to our candidates forum for the school board. All candidates who are running in the general election were invited to participate, and tonight we will have Zaria Tapia Hadley, Kathleen Clark, Paul Weiss, James Velrives. And for this discussion, each candidate will have 2 minutes to give an opening statement. There will be 30 seconds for yes or no questions and 1.5 minutes to answer specific questions related to the school board. And then there will be 1 minute for a closing statement. And I will rotate the questions and jump in when your time is up. So for opening statements, I'd like to start with Zaria. And if I've mispronounced your name, please forgive me and please state the correct pronunciation.
Sure, no, thank you. Well, first of all, I'm honored to be here with the oldest and largest civil rights organization in the country, and I'm proud to be a member of the NAACP Arlington branch. I'm Zaria, like Mariah, Tapia Hadley, and I would like to earn your support and your vote in the upcoming school board election. Advancing many of the values and priorities of the NAACP is not only what I have done for a living in my life, but it's also my personal mission and a focus by virtue of my own life experience. I'm a 20-year Arlington resident, a parent of 2 boys. They're 10 and 12 who are in the Arlington public schools. And I've been privileged enough to stand alongside NAACP leaders at the national level, advocating across issues from defending our rights to vote to workers' rights, civil rights, and improving representation throughout my career as a lawyer initially, and then an advocate, starting working in Congress, leading national nonprofits, and within corporate America. At the local level, I was proud to stand with many of you as we kept a gun seller out of our neighborhood in Green Valley many years ago. And I also worked with Portia Clark and others to advance the Shirlington Employment and Education Center for over a decade. On the school board, you can count on me to be a leader with a vision, common sense, and a commitment to community. My reason for running boils down to a passion for representation. As a professional advocate and an APS parent, I believe there's too much at stake coming down the pike, and all voices need to be well represented on the school board. I have a platform that puts the representation of the 40 to 45% of Black and Brown kids and families in APS at its center. If elected, I intend to focus on the safety and well-being of our children and educators, closing the existing communication and transparency gaps between APS and our households and educators, and keeping our high-quality education. And what does that mean to me? That means prioritizing early childhood literacy and spending our resources where they are most needed, equitably, not equally across the county. So I hope to have your support, given the skills that I bring, experience, and empathy to serve on APS school board. And to close, I won't be coming to tell you how things are done. The way I work is I will be a school board member that is there coming to you to get concerns and perspectives. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, Paul Weiss.
Sorry about that. Good evening. Thank you so much for hosting, and thanks for everyone for coming tonight. My name is Paul Weiss. I was born and raised in Northern Virginia. I went to Marshall High School right down the road in Falls Church. I've been an Arlington teacher for 22 years, and I just retired this past July to run for school board. I was not able to participate in the Democratic caucus, but I am a lifelong progressive Democrat. My parents were both first-generation Americans, and they instilled in me an appreciation for the strengths of a diverse community. They were also the first in their families to attend college, so education was a major value in our family. Finally, both my parents were young teens during the Great Depression, and they instilled in me the value of being smart and wise with money decisions. But they were not a pull themselves up by their bootstraps story. They both proudly admitted that good government policies, especially the GI Bill and federal home loans, helped them out of their circumstances. So I grew up a true believer of good government, and I still feel that way. But in my classes, I taught my students that the same federal home loans that my parents received were denied to Black Americans. Hundreds of thousands of Black veterans were denied opportunities to use the GI Bill for education because publicly funded universities denied their admission. I mention this because while I am a progressive Democrat who believes in good government, there are still government policies, including education, that are harmful to Arlington's Black families. I've spoken to parents and teachers who are frustrated that students who struggle to read are treated for behavior problems rather than reading differences. And as a teacher, I've seen firsthand the devastating effect of the overemphasis on test scores on my students. So addressing these issues will be a priority for me on the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, Kathleen Clark, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kathleen Clark. I am a lifelong Arlingtonian and actually a proud APS graduate. And I want to extend my thanks for having this really important forum tonight. I have 3 children at APS. One is at Cardinal, one's at Swanson, and one is at Arlington Tech, having his best year ever. 2 of my students, including my oldest at Arlington Tech, have disabilities, are autistic. And through our experience doing individualized education plans at 5 elementary schools, we've seen how each school administered the process differently. My experience as a parent and an advocate makes me uniquely positioned to serve on the school board. I volunteered extensively at a countywide level, including having served as the president of the Special Education PTA, as a liaison to the County Council PTA, vice chair of the strategic plan, and joining various committees that support work around inclusion and anti-bullying in our schools. Through all of this work, I've developed an understanding of the school communities across the county, And I know we have opportunity gaps and we are not meeting the needs of our students. I will share with you that one of the most challenging questions that I've been asked as an advocate within APS is, where should I move to get services? And this statement is so troublesome because it implies that a student's needs can't be fully met at their neighborhood school. And it points to the inconsistencies that even my family experienced within special education. I want to change this. And as a school board member, I will prioritize closing the gaps in academic performance of our Black and Brown students, our English learners, and our students with disabilities, because these gaps have persisted for far too long. And I will work to ensure that resources are distributed equitably across APS so that the resources are based on the needs of the student population and not just the zip code. I'll prioritize and address the mental health needs of impacting our students, ensuring that students feel safe and welcome in their school so they can access learning. And as an auditor by profession, I will ensure that our budget follows the priorities noted in the strategic plan adopted in June. We have a great school system, but we have a lot of work to do. Thank you.
Thank you. And James Bell, rise, please.
Good evening. I'm James Vell Reeves. Thank you, Arlington NAACP, for hosting this forum tonight. I have lived in Arlington 25 years. My wife, Carmen, and I have a senior at Wakefield and an 8th grader at Gunston. I'm a product of the public schools in Vestavia Hills, Alabama, a suburb to the south of Birmingham. And throughout my time there, the schools I attended were desegregated by busing. This was in the 70s and 80s. My college degree was in music, and I've directed children's and adult church choirs for 20 years. I'm a physician. I practice psychiatry. I'm serving my 6th year on the School Health Advisory Board, and previously I served 6 years as an Arlington County election officer. I'm not very athletic, but I stepped up, and for 8 years, I was an assistant soccer coach in the Arlington Rec League. I'm running for school board because in APS, we're continuing to have the same challenges with retaining good teachers, student achievement, school climate, substance abuse, and depleting our financial reserves. And addressing these challenges are my priorities. To solve problems, we need to have different perspectives at the table. I'm the only non-Democrat in the race, and school board members have been exclusively Democrats for 20 years. Even just one person from outside their circle will yield better discussion and bring more credibility to the board and its decisions. And that's why my campaign has earned the support of Democrats, Greens, Independents, and others, all here in Arlington. You can see on my campaign homepage. And I'm proud to be endorsed by the multi-partisan Forward Party, also linked on my homepage. That's rives4sb.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, in the same order, 30-second question will be, please let us know if you are a member of the NAACP.
Yes, I am.
No, I am not.
No, I'm not.
No, I am not.
Thank you. So now our first question would be, what would you like to see prioritized in the annual budget for APS to ensure that our school system is top tier and adequately serving all students? Oh, I'm sorry. And I want to start with James, please. James Reeves.
I'm sorry, Tia. Could you just repeat the question? I couldn't hear her.
Okay, I'm sorry. What would you like to see prioritized in the annual budget for APS to ensure that our school system is top tier and adequately serving all?
I want to see instruction prioritized. It's our core mission in APS, and it's what we should be putting our resources into. And to be more specific, resources in the classroom. Classroom includes athletics, the gym on the stage or outdoors, but instruction. And part of that priority is retaining good teachers. We need to pay competitively, but we also need to keep them teaching and instructing. We need to limit the amount of non-teaching tasks that we are giving teachers. When we give them more reporting or requirements to do, we need to retire some of the requirements that we are previously asking of them. Asking teachers to do administrative and non-teaching tasks, some of it's necessary, but it's a double whammy because it decreases instruction time and it keeps them from doing what they are trained to do. I think this will benefit all students if we move our resources, or emphasize the instruction in the classroom, freeze the growth of the central office, and divert that spending to the classroom, move some of the employees in the central office to be embedded in the neighborhood schools with the staff that they are supervising, so that they can have a better connection with the application, the outcomes of the decisions they're making in the administrative office.
Thank you. Kathleen Clark.
One of the things that we heard resoundingly in the strategic plan from both students and parents and community members was how much educators were loved. And I think it's really important in our budget that we protect our educators. 80% of our budget is salaries. And we need to ensure that we are retaining the best educators we can in APS to ensure that we are meeting these vast needs of our student population. We know that we are failing instruction for some learners. We are graduating students that don't know how to read. We are changing instruction every year. And so within that budget, I want us to prioritize how we're spending our money, better operationalize the processes, payroll, HR. We're moving to a new platform come January that will help streamline some of these processes. We really need to focus on ways that we can operationalize these better so that we can focus our time and attention on our students and giving them the instruction that they need.
Thank you. Soraya.
Yeah. So first, I think we really need to take a close look at our planning factors that have not been updated in decades. That dictates necessarily sort of how we think about staffing and managing programs across schools. I know our school board right now is looking at the next direction for next year's budget, in which hopefully two of us will be serving in that. I do believe in starting with a needs-based approach to the budget, but I should clarify that in my mind, a needs-based approach starts with the existing schools and programs that we have. So taking our existing APS infrastructure and starting with a way in which we define what every school needs. And again, use our dollars and resources equitably, not equally, which means that if one school has a particular higher English language learner population and more need for educators and instructors there, that is a focus. If in another school we're seeing math scores falling behind, that we allocate resources accordingly. We are going to be in a budget deficit, 30 to 50 or $60 million next year. So I do want to ensure that every dollar is used most effectively and efficiently, prioritizing educator and staff pay and support for kids with disabilities and English language learners. And again, closing those learning gaps. And finally, making sure also that we're leveraging, for example, the seniority of some educators. My understanding from talking to teachers is that the salary pay is particularly problematic early on in their career. Thank you.
Thank you. This question will be starting with Kathleen.
Oh, wait, I didn't get a chance to answer.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm so sorry. Okay.
That's fine. All right. So I was actually very eager to answer because I just love what Soraya says about equity over equality. One of the disturbing trends on the school board leadership right now is the phrase that we are a school system, not a system of schools. And to me, that is dangerous, a way of looking at the schools, because it's basically treating each school you know, like they're all the same. And that is the wonderful thing about Arlington, right, is that our schools are not the same. So it also saves money. You know, Zariah's idea about, you know, spending certain resources at one school and other resources at another school does save money. I know at, you know, where I taught for 22 years, HB Woodlawn, you know, there were services offered to us that, you know, because of our population, we didn't need. And sometimes the county would insist on us taking it. And we're saying, you know, please, you know, another school could use this resource. But that attitude of, you know, that we're a school system and everything must be the same for every school is something that needs to change. I'm a very big advocate that smaller class sizes should be the #1 priority in any budget. That you take a, you know, you look at the budget, but you always look at it in the way at every margin. How can we make class sizes smaller? That is the, you know, it's just a logical assumption that the less students in a classroom, the more attention those students get. And been asked by people. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'd like to ask you now, sorry, again, Paul. Do you feel, and this is Kathleen starting, do you feel that APS is serving the needs of communities of color? And if so, how?
Sorry, did you say, are they serving the needs of communities of color?
Yeah.
No, all you have to do is look at the outcomes. It's in the outcomes. We are missing our most vulnerable learners, our most underserved communities time and time again. And this opportunity is truly an opportunity gap where we are fundamentally missing the fact that we're not serving these populations well. An example that I know well in special education is that if you have a student with dyslexia and a student with ADHD, we will triage the ADHD first before we triage the dyslexia. And you perpetuate lifelong learning challenges because we are not actually addressing the learning need, which is dyslexia. And every time that happens, we perpetuate stereotypes, and we, you know, fulfill that prophecy of the school to prison pipeline. I mean, that is real. That exists, and that exists because we are not taking education for minority students seriously. That's minority students, students with disabilities, any one of our learners that has been underserved is underserved almost with a reason, right? Like it's effort, it's community, you know, that we're taking advantage of communities that may not have the ability to speak up or reach out. And as a parent who has gone through that with my own children, I can't let that happen to other kids, and I won't let that happen to other kids as a school board member. There's too much at stake for these populations of students. And
That's time.
Thank you.
Thank you. James Reese, please.
I would say no, APS is not serving students of color well. And we see that in the achievement gap because that's what we measure is the achievement. And last month's academic report showed us that our racial achievement gap largely closes when we account for disabilities, English learners, and economic disadvantage. It's still a gap and we need to close it outright, but that tells us where we need to focus our efforts. So we need to ensure supports for those particular challenges. For English learners, continuing individualized language instruction to complement their class studies, reinforcing reading and cognitive development at home with families, providing books and games, including in the family's language, that does help. For students with economic disadvantage, we need to keep tutoring available, offer more proctoring and extended day sessions. And for everyone in APS, all students, optimal placement is key. It's better to master basic material and build on that rather than be continually behind in a more advanced class. Other universal priorities that will benefit everyone in closing those gaps are, again, reducing class sizes. Even in general education, this will allow for more individualized attention for students who are needing extra help for whatever reason. And lastly, maximizing. Oh, okay.
Thank you, Soraya, and then Paul.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's clear, right? The statistics and data just demonstrate that we're not meeting our kids' needs. And again, that's the reason I'm running. I believe that it's not a gap at this point with our kids of color. These are structural issues. And structural issues are only going to be fixed again by improving representation at every level. Yes, on the school board, in the administration, that it's done a much better job of having more diverse a team there, but also in schools with educators, allocating resources where they need to be allocated and looking at the child as a whole child. I attended I was in the picket line at the Hyatt with a bunch of moms in Arlington and who are staff hotel workers, and were picketing with their kids there after school. Imagine being one of those kids, right? You're out there, you're worried your mom's job is gone. You have other worries and concerns, and how are you going to thrive in class when that's what's going on in your life? And I think just as a system, we have to think of that more. What else? A whole child, and look at our families in that respect as well. And that's what I hope to do. Again, that's why the communication bit, it's not superficial. It's real. Like, how are we in touch with our kids and families? And I think that also leads to the truancy issue that we have. The more we could understand the entire context within a family and our students, the better we're able to address truancy. And that's been true. Just our school, Claremont, was just
That's time.
recognized in that context. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul, please.
Hi, I'm going to push back a little bit on my fellow candidates. I believe in the classroom, there are hardworking teachers, and outside the classroom in extracurricular activities and support activities for minority students who are serving our children well. They are heroes. APS's vision is to have an inclusive community that empowers all students to foster their dreams, explore possibilities, and create their futures. And for 22 years, I saw individual teachers who did that for their students. If you ever had a chance to go to an HB graduation and watch the EL student speeches about everything that those kids overcame with the help of hardworking and wonderful teachers. As a system, though, we are not serving them well. And I also want to push back on the way we are measuring if we're serving students well. Statistics and data, okay? Our students are more than statistics and data. And I do not like the phrase data-driven that our school board uses to basically measure everything. Our students see that. They see our schools shut down for testing, and then they get a test score back that they think reflects badly on them. And it's awful to see that. I've had students who are wonderful, amazingly intelligent people, and then they get a test score that in no way measures the fact that they are amazing, wonderful people. And so that's where we're not serving our students well. Thank you.
Thank you. The safety and mental health of our students are top concerns. What would you implement to address and improve safety for our students in and outside of schools? And how about for the mental health and well-being of our students as well? And we will start with Paul this time.
Okay. Yeah, so for me, safety issues, again, we need to foster a community environment within the schools where kids feel that they have trusted adults they can go to. Statistics show that a lot of violence, or most violence, is avoided because students are talking with each other and talking to trusted adults in the school. So just having activities where students feel like they belong is going to cut down the likelihood of an unsafe act in a school. Mental health also is creating a community in a school. I mentioned this at another forum where the happiest kids I've seen as a teacher are the ones who belong to clubs like the band or the theater. Okay, so if we have a healthy system where kids can organically get together and just be together and meet each other, I think we could solve a lot of mental health issues. I'm also a believer in a way for the day policy for cell phones. I think social media is an awful thing that that just bombards our kids with bad images and anxiety every day. And so those are some of my ideas for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Zariah?
Yeah, no, again, I think a lot of it is where we invest our resources. I think I support focusing a lot on investing in mental health resources, counseling within schools. We still need more support there, of course, across the board. I believe also in restorative justice practices and promoting those across our schools. And, let's think of also, yes, keeping our kids busy is essential. So continue working with the county, which I would want to do as a school board member, work closely with the county to ensure that we have countywide after school programs as well as whatever schools may offer. And finally, more programming for kids around the county, bringing county resources to schools, both in the physical health and mental health aspect. There are resources that county has that families are not aware of because you'd have to go to them. And so there's no transportation from schools to these great, both nonprofit and county resources. So let's bring them in. Those would be just some of the ways that I would begin to try to address that.
Thank you, James, then Kathleen, please.
Yes, for mental health, I am a psychiatrist and I have a lot of ideas. With substance abuse, this is a huge mental health crisis in our schools. It's out of control. Perhaps we'll come back to that topic later, but briefly, I want to see escalating interventions with each instance of substance abuse. I agree with away for the day. I think we're moving the right direction with cell phones being put away during school hours. And I don't want us to over formalize mental health. I think the students are having too many presentations about mental health and feelings and suicide. And I would rather have the teacher take the class outside for a fun activity. And like Paul was saying, being involved in arts and theater and athletics and group activities, that's what's going to build community and bolster mental health. For safety, I do think we should reinstate the school resource officer program. Our school climate, especially in the middle and high schools, is not as good as it was when we had SROs in the schools. And we might debate what's contributed to that, but no one can say that our school climate is as good as it was when we had them. Another reason is that when APS last studied this in 2020, students and families felt safer with the SROs in the schools. And APS broke their data down into almost every conceivable demographic group by race. Okay.
Hey, I mentioned earlier that my son was having the greatest year ever at Arlington Tech, and it's because he feels safe and welcome in the school. My son was assaulted in March of 2022 because he was autistic. He was targeted, and it has taken years to get him back to a place where his first response wasn't flight. Fight, flight, freeze response, because he felt unsafe and unwelcome, and he was unable to engage in the way that we would expect children to be able to engage with their school. We have, our family has that experience. So when we talk about the correlation between safety and mental health, they go hand in hand. There are a lot of really great resources out there for mental health, and I think that's where it starts. Children need to feel safe and welcome in order to be able to exist in school and access their education. 1 in 5 is a great mental health resource. It is a program. Hope Squad is another one, and they focus on peer-to-peer mentoring to help address culture and climate within a school building. Having gone through restorative practices ourselves as a family when my son was assaulted, we also really believe in this because, again, it sheds light on feelings, perspectives, and the greater community at large. If we can continue with those approaches, I think our schools will continue to improve in this area.
Thank you. This one will be a 30-second yes or no. starting with Kathleen. Do you agree with the currently piloted and recently proposed for full implementation in January, the APS cell phone free policy from bell to bell that could potentially start as soon as January in the middle of this current school year? Kathleen.
So I do not agree with the pouches. I do agree that students should be focused on their educators. I do think that there are absolutely times students need to have access to their phones. We have seniors that work. I know as somebody in retail who have reached out to employees before, you may need that. Your family may need to get in contact with you. And we have people going to and from the Career Center for classes. High school looks very, very different than elementary school. We don't need the phones in elementary school. Middle school, you still have some kids taking care of younger siblings.
That's time.
Zariah.
Yeah, I am in favor of the policy, again, with caveats and allowances made for particularly students with disabilities or who have specific, requirements in their IEP for their electric devices, be a phone, tablet, whatever it is. And I am also not in favor of the pouches. I think that our resources can be best used otherwise. However, I have been hearing a number of instances from parents of especially kids who have IEPs and have a specific instruction to use their devices, that's not being translated to the school, and that some educators or staff aren't knowledgeable on that. They need to be.
Thank
as much as they're doing, I know.
Paul, please, and then.
Okay, so as I said earlier, I am in favor of away for the day. I hear a lot of exceptions, and I agree with those, but I just don't want the exceptions to be the rule. So the rule should be away for the day, and of course, with exceptions.
Sorry about that. Thank you. Yes, I've been advocating for away for the day for years. I'm happy to see us moving in this direction. And I know the jury is out on the pouches, but whatever means we use to get to phones away for the entire school day, system-wide, is what I'd like to see. I know some students require devices for assistive or medical reasons, and I support granting exceptions and accommodations on a case-by-case basis, but this would still preserve the expectation that devices are to be turned off and away and students listening to their teachers. Thank you.
Thank you. This next question is a bit twofold. It's what new qualities, experiences, or perspectives would you bring to the school board compared to our existing and prior board members? And then with that, what measurable achievements and or accomplishments would you most like to see reflected during your tenure if elected? I'm sorry. And we're going to start with James.
I'm a physician. I think that would be especially useful right now. We've talked about mental health and substance abuse. I'm a psychiatrist. Also, I think with whatever the next crisis is that's coming, it was a pandemic last time, maybe it would be some other epidemic or a national security issue. But I think with my experience in emergency situations and with public health, I would be equipped to help the school navigate that better than we did before. We were closed far too long. There were many examples we could have followed. Measurables that I'd like to see in my tenure on the school board is increasing instruction time, both in days of instruction, hours of instruction during the school day. This is a system calendar and a school schedule issue, and having a focus on core subjects. Measurables, it's not all about the testing, but we do have to track and measure it somewhere. And I do want to see achievement in especially reading, but in all subjects improve for everyone. And I want to see the gaps in performance closing.
Thank you. Next, Kathleen, please.
Hi, yes. So I think a couple of things. One, I think I know I bring a different kind of community engagement. I have worked for 20 years primarily with the immigrant and civil rights community in my career and personally. So I think that that experience is really important to have on the school board, that advocacy experience, also the professional experience of working to shape policy for a living as well, and knowing how to communicate that and effectively do stakeholder engagement intake, right? Understanding what the community needs, having really well-informed ideas to then build upon, rather than putting out policies that then in actuality are never going to work. And, the system doesn't know that because they didn't do the right due diligence with the educators and staff that are going to be implementing it, or with the families that are going through it. So that is what I think I know how to do. I've done for almost 20 years and I bring to the table. And finally, just my own personal experience too, and commitment to the work. I think that those are all going to be important qualities to bring. And the fact that I have kids who are going to be in the system for the duration of my term. So any action we take, we're going to be, along with everyone else in the system, receiving it. And I'm very excited to also have demonstrated my ability to listen and understand the challenges. And that's why I have the endorsements of the teachers union, as well as so many local elected leaders in Arlington and Virginia.
Okay, thank you. Kathleen, please.
I wasn't sure if you had said my name first a second ago, but that's okay.
Hi,
So, okay. So I have kids in every level. I have a pulse at elementary, middle, and high school, and I bring that perspective to the table as a parent. I also know special education inside and out, and special education is from a bandwidth and dollar perspective is a part of the foundational level and what we need to meet as requirements with an APS. Like, I understand how that works and know how we can work efficiencies into this and make sure we're thinking about these students from the get-go. I mean, we have problems with some of our buildings like HB, where we did not do the construction right because we didn't have the right voices at the table to check it. I'm an internal auditor by profession, so I look at end-to-end processes and I think about the impact across the total school system, just like I would across, my company at Gap Inc. It is something I do inherently and would bring that skill set of not just looking end to end, but also understanding budgets. When we think about KPIs and measurables, the evaluation of our schools right now is based on this SOL data at the state level. So if we are not moving the needle on our students passing these tests, whether or not I agree with tests, right now that is the measure by the state. So we need to figure out how to move that needle, and I will continue to push that so that we can make sure that our students are progressing and are growing and hitting the metrics that they need to hit.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay, so I think my unique perspective as a teacher, fresh out of the classroom, I taught for 22 years in Arlington, and I've been working with kids, parents, daily for 22 years. So I think that gives me a unique perspective that we really need on the school board. Many even good-hearted decisions that come out of the school board aren't based in the reality of what it's like to be a student and a teacher. So I would be sort of a gatekeeper, for those decisions. As far as accomplishments, again, this goes to the data-driven, my problem with the data-driven part of the school board's priority. They tout retention as this amazing thing, and that, to me, that's the lowest bar. Oh, they stayed in Arlington. What really matters is job satisfaction. And there is a survey that goes out every year called Your Voice Matters. And the school board kind of just ignores all the statistics about job satisfaction for teachers. And so I would want to raise that, and that would bring in more great teachers to Arlington. Right now, we're losing a lot of teachers. I also would like to, with the Your Voice Matters, we also include students in that. And I would like to raise the percentage of students who feel that they have an adult in the building that they connect with. I would like to see that go up to 100%. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. We will now have closing remarks, and each candidate will be given 1 minute. And you can state whatever you'd like to state, highlight any specific actions you'd like to take or whatever. And this time we're going to start with Paul, and then we'll go to Kathleen.
Okay, so thank you very much. So when I first mentioned my candidacy back in June, I was naively taken aback when someone asked for my platform. And I thought, platform? I'm a teacher and I'm running for school board. That's my platform. But the question, of course, was a good one. And I hope some of my answers tonight gave you an insight into my platform, but also on my website, you can see some other concrete issues that I address. I still believe being a teacher makes me uniquely qualified to best serve Arlington students on the school board. I'm a parent of 2 W&L graduates, both of whom had struggles and successes in school. And my wife and I are forever grateful to the teachers and support staff in the buildings that supported them and inspired them throughout their time at school. I'm running for these teachers and support staff who work directly with Arlington's children every day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kathleen, please.
Thanks again for this evening. You know, January 1st, if I'm elected, I'm going to focus on collaborating with underrepresented communities to create safe and inclusive schools. I know what that feels like for my son now, being in an inclusive environment, and I want to continue to make sure that each and every one of our students across APS has that. We know that students engage in their own education and perform better if their social, emotional, and physical needs are met. I'm going to act on the need for high quality after school activities and help address the drug and the mental health issues facing our students today. I've actually put together programming for neurodiverse students in drug use in APS through the Parent Resource Center. You know, when we think about the needs of our community coming out of COVID, many educators have talked about that enormous health toll coming out of it. And we have to be able to adapt and change to meet our students where they are. I'm an experienced candidate. Thank you.
Thank you. James, please.
I am different. After 20 years of only Democrats winning school board elections, I think it's fair to say I'm the unconventional candidate tonight. I am also the only repeat candidate, so I've done the most campaigning. I've been to every Arlington neighborhood, every school, multiple times, and win or lose, that experience, hearing from residents across the whole county, that has been the greatest thing I've gotten from these campaigns and makes me, I think, the best candidate. I know Bethany, Mary, and Miranda, the continuing board members, and I would be so excited to work alongside them and any one of my fellow candidates tonight. I think we could make a dream team for APS. I hope you see that too, and I respectfully ask that you make me one of your 2 votes for school board. Thank you.
Thank you. And last, Soraya, please.
Thank you. So for me, it really boils down to what I talked about. You know, all my life I've fought for greater representation, and I've been a breaker of, you know, systems in a positive way to achieve positive outcomes for more people. And that's, I think, what's led for so many of folks, like I mentioned, I'm very excited to have the support of so many who believed in my ability and my character to do the job right. And that's really what got me to run. It was that belief in current and former folks who have done this same job and others in the state government as well. I'm so proud to have a child-centered and educator-approved agenda, having earned the endorsement of the union that represents the educators and staff because I've demonstrated the ability to understand their perspectives. I'm supported by Nova Labor in the pipe trades, Latino Victory, Juntos for Virginia, LULAC. And just this past week, I'm very excited to share I became an official Gun Sense candidate supported by Everytown. What this means is that I'm not new to advocacy and developing policy from the ground up. I have the requisite skills of policy depth along with the ability to make a case and to build consensus and get things done. And that's what we need in Arlington. So thank you, and I hope to have your support.
Thank you, everyone, for coming and participating in our candidates forum for school board. And now I'll turn it back over to Jan Marie Pinion. Thank you.
Thanks, Tia. So now we'll start our House of Representatives forum. So I'm gonna spotlight our candidates. So give me 1 second to do. Perfect. I think we have all of our candidates. Thank you so much. So all the candidates who are running in the general election for the House of Representatives 8th District were invited to participate. So joining us for the discussion tonight, we have Congressman Donald Byer, Mr. Bentley Hensel, and Mr. David Kennedy. Mr. Jerry Torres recently notified us that he will not be able to attend this evening. So for this discussion, each candidate will have 2 minutes to give an opening statement, 30 seconds, or 1 minute and 30 seconds to answer specific issue area questions. We'll let you know what the timing is. And then we'll have 1 minute for closing statements. And we'll rotate who answers each question first and jump in when your time is up. So before we go into closing statements, we'll just start with our initial question that we've been asking during all the forums, and that is whether or not you're a member of the NAACP. So we'll go in alphabetical order, and we'll start with Congressman Byer.
Jan Marie, yes, I paid my life member dues about 30 years ago. So long time, yes.
Thank you so much. Mr. Hensel?
Yes, I am. Joined many years ago, then re-upped a little while ago. So yes.
Thank you. And Mr. Kennedy?
No, I'm not a member.
Okay, thank you so much. So now we'll give each candidate 2 minutes for opening statements. During your statement, if you could just please highlight what your top priorities are for your term in office and how these priorities would affect Black and other community members of color. So we'll go in the same order, starting with Congressman Byer.
Thank you, Jan Marie, and thanks so much for inviting me to be a part of tonight's forum. I try to live my life constructively aware of our American history, all of it, and doing everything small and large I can to overcome the ugly, immoral, and tragic part of our legacy. So I was proud to share the ticket with L. Douglas Wilder when he was elected America's first Black governor. I was one of the earliest full-time volunteers on Barack Obama's presidential campaign, and I was chairman of his Mid-Atlantic finance team. My most recent chief of staff was Tanya Bradsher. She's now the highest ranking Black woman to serve as Deputy Secretary of Veterans Affairs. My current chief of staff is Zach Kafritz, whose mother, Peggy Kafritz, was founder of the Duke Ellington School for the Arts and later chair of the DC School Board. I've endorsed my dear close friend Carl Eggleston of Farmville for Lieutenant Governor next year. And through more than 40 years of running the family business, I've promoted and elevated scores of Black men and women to positions of leadership and excellent salary. On legislation, I'm the lead sponsor of 401 Kids. That's the most important initiative to overcome the generational wealth gap by investing for every American child based on family income. I've been fighting for years to get rid of Robert E. Lee's name from Arlington House. I now have 120 co-sponsors on that legislation, and when Kamala wins, we're going to pass it. I'm the lead sponsor of the Cost of Police Misconduct Bill, which would make transparent all the money cities spend to settle police misconduct claims. And I was the sponsor of banning facial recognition from police body cameras, which was included in the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. And I'm original co-sponsor of the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Slavery is America's original sin. And a few decades of civil rights cannot overcome the damage done over hundreds of years of subjugation and discrimination. And I will continue to work for justice in every way I can. And I'm the grandson, by the way, of Virginia civil rights advocates. And Congresswoman Gwen Moore of Milwaukee is my bridge partner. And I yield back.
Thank you so much. Mr. Hensel.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Bentley Hensel. I'm a data-driven problem solver committed to privacy, transparency, and protecting our planet. My campaign's about delivering real solutions, not just talking about them. I grew up in Alexandria, Louisiana, and moved to Alexandria, Virginia in 2015 after a brief stint in the Navy. Since then, I've worked as a senior data and DevOps engineer at Civic Actions, improving federal sites like Medicare.gov and VA.gov. My career has shown me how outdated government systems create barriers, especially for those who rely most on public services. We need to modernize the government so that it works for everyone, not just those who know how to cut red tape. A fair economy starts with strong worker protections and wage transparency. I support policies that empower unions because when workers are treated with dignity, I believe entire communities can thrive. Public safety requires trust and accountability. Strong oversight is essential, and I'll push for reforms that ensure government accountability, including preventing corrupt police departments from deleting body cam footage. We need bold action on climate change. The communities most affected, often those least resourced, must be prioritized as we transition to a clean energy future and prepare for the climate crisis that is here and happening. Finally, data privacy is critical in today's world. Congress has failed to address the growing crisis of personal information exposure, and it's time to hold corporations accountable and ensure they protect your data. Together, we can create a more just and equitable future where everyone has the opportunity to thrive. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy.
Yeah, thanks, Jen Marie. Thank you, NAACP, for sponsoring this event. My name is Dave Kennedy. I'm running for the U.S. Congress as an independent, grassroots, moderate-leaning candidate. My website shares lots of my personal background, so if you have a chance tonight, davekennedy2024.com. The part of my background I will share is my graduation from the Wesley Theological Seminary last year. Upon graduation and looking at next steps in life, I felt a call to justice and compassion in the public square. The foundation of my candidacy and my life is threefold: love neighbor, which is our great biblical call and witnessed in the Good Samaritan; respect differences, just treating someone the way you want to be treated; but challenge bullies. Anytime someone's being marginalized or demonized, we need to step up. My platform is bread and butter, quality of life issues I think are important to Northern Virginians and the NAACP. Affordable housing, and I do, Ms. Robinson earlier said, has to be coupled with a living wage. Those two go hand in hand. Safe streets, which is coupled with opportunities for youth. Prison reform. I have a good friend who's incarcerated, and that's a near and dear issue for me. Care for our veterans. My son's a veteran of the Iraq War, also near and dear to me. Caring for those who are struggling with mental illness, addiction, anyone who is considered the most vulnerable. I'm a new voice, ever-present, invisible candidate. I listen closely. I'd be a we the people representative. So please consider me on Election Day. Thanks.
Thank you so much. So our first question is around economic security, and we'll give each candidate a minute and a half to answer. A 2022 study from the Urban Institute found that Black and Latinx households in Arlington experienced significantly higher rates of food insecurity than white households. The report observed that food insecure households generally had difficulty paying for expenses and had to cut their food budgets first in times of financial hardship. What policies will you champion to improve the economic security of community members who are struggling to make ends meet? So we'll start with Mr. Hensel.
Thank you. That's a major question. I think the main point of that is that people aren't getting paid what they need. A major problem, I'm a huge believer in transparency, and that shining a light on problems usually will help solve it. One of the things I believe is that if you're a publicly traded company, your executive leadership, CEOs, board members, whatever, their compensation is already reported to the SEC. The accounting people have this data. I want this reported instantly. So when the CEO of Accenture or CEO of Google, John Deere, or Boeing gets paid a couple $1 million in bonuses or whatever, the American public sees that instantly so that the media can report on it. Secondly, I believe if you're a company over 150 people, your age range, geographic region, years of experience, job title, gender should be reported yearly, obviously anonymized, to the Department of Labor, so that you can know what each job title is making, so that new hires or existing older hires are not underpaid. And I believe that once we know what companies are paying and what the wage disparity looks like, I feel that we can improve everyone's outcome. That's my overall solution of how we can really lift everyone up, as opposed to try and just fight interior between ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. You're on mute.
Ooh, I guess I lost 10 of my seconds here. Food insecurity is real. I actually have spent the last 15 years of my life working in a food ministry at my church. And that experience and meeting folks who are those people who are food insecure really does shape my compassion towards this issue. The informal network of churches and, in this area, we have AFAC, that's a huge contributor. That informal network is vital. So we actually need to be supporting that informal network of food providers. But at the same time, we do have food deserts. We know that. We know that the SNAP program is so critical. And I know that's something that Representative Beyer has spent a lot of time working on. And we need a farm bill to be passed. We've been working on an extension, I believe, for the last couple of years. And then I would just say it does also come back to a living wage. A living wage in this area, it was said earlier, is annual wage is about $122,000. That translates to a $49 per hour minimum wage. So when we talk about minimum wage, we can't be talking about a $15 minimum wage. We got to be talking about something that's real and that will provide solutions for people who are food insecure.
Thank you, Congressman Beyer.
Yeah, thank you. I agree with Bentley and David both that the minimum wage needs to be much, much higher. In the short run, I've given up hope that that will happen at the federal level. It is happening at the states, little by little. Every state that's had a referendum on a minimum wage, even conservative southern states like Arkansas, have voted that higher wage in. In the meantime, what I know we can do, though, is, especially after Kamala wins and we take back the House, is bring back the child tax credit. When we put that in the American Rescue Plan with Joe Biden, we cut child poverty to 5%, the lowest in American history. It expired at the end of 2021, and the child poverty rate went back to 12.5%. In Kamala Harris's plan, she says $1,000 per month for babies 0 to 1, then $500 or I think it's $600 a month from 1 to 5, and then drops down to like $350. That and we know we can do that. Even Republicans love tax cuts, tax credits. So this is our best chance to actually put money on the table right now to overcome that food insecurity. I'm also the lead co-sponsor with Susan Ilbeni on the low-income housing tax credit. If we pass what we have been working on for years, it will create something like 2 million new affordable homes over the next 10 years. And finally, we need to continue to expand the earned income tax credit, which really makes it an incentive to work. It's been okay. It's done a lot of good work, except that we need to make it fully refundable because too many people don't earn enough money to claim the tax credit. And those are 3 very concrete policy things that we can do in the short run, in the next Congress, that will make a big difference for Arlington.
Thank you so much. So the next question is on voting rights, and this is more of a yes or no question. So I'll give you 30 seconds to answer and give a little bit of context. Since the Supreme Court gutted key provisions of the Voting Rights Act in 2013, at least 29 states have passed 94 restrictive voting laws that have aimed to suppress the vote of people of color. In 2024, Congress reintroduced the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, which would restore and strengthen key provisions of the Voting Rights Act and tackle discriminatory voting laws head-on. Will you support the reintroduction and passage of the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act? So we'll start with Mr. Kennedy.
1,000% yes. And I do think when we talk about your vote counting, we also need to talk about things like gerrymandering. Because when you are gerrymandered into a district that then shuts out your voice, you might as well not vote in certain, and at least in certain races. So we have to address it holistically. Voting rights need to be totally honored, and other issues like gerrymandering have to be addressed.
And yes, I agree with David. I'm 100% in, 1,000% in. I've been a co-sponsor of the John Lewis Voting Act. I used to sit right in front of John Lewis on Ways and Means, and he was one of my favorite people. By the way, I think that John Roberts' statement back in 2012, 2013, that race was no longer a factor in American voting was one of the wrongest statements I've ever heard. Tim Kaine has famously said that sadly, the biggest difference between the parties right now is Democrats want as many people to vote as possible, Republicans want as few. Voting Rights Act, the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, will begin to right that ship.
Thank you so much. Mr. Hensel?
As Mr. Kennedy and Ms. Spire said, 1,000% yes, I do. I think we should go farther. Election day should be a national federal holiday, and I believe that's Freedom to Vote Act, if I remember correctly. That usually gets talked along in the same vibe. Thank you. Okay, want to make sure. But yes, yeah, I don't think your employer should have any input whatsoever into whether you vote or not. I grew up in Alexandria, Louisiana, and that is not a racially accepting. It's not great. It's not great. And Louisiana has a lot of horrific laws to prevent voting, and those are the kind of things that we need to fight to fix. Not just in, Virginia is much better than most, but we have to focus nationally because not everyone is fortunate to live in Northern Virginia. So.
Thank you so much. Our next question is in environment and climate justice, and we'll give a minute and a half. So climate change is causing extreme weather events such as heat waves and severe flooding to become more and more common in our region. Black and brown communities are hit hardest by these extreme conditions. What investments would you support to help our community address and respond to climate change? And how would you ensure that these investments equitably benefit communities of color who are most vulnerable? So we'll start with Congressman Byer.
Yeah. Thank you, Jan Marie. One of the great losses was when we lost Congressman Don McEachin about 2 years ago. He came to Congress from Richmond as the champion for environmental justice. I'm one of many who try to pick up his legacy. Every time I've run, I've said this, the centerpiece of my message is very simple, that I want to be the strongest, clearest voice fighting climate change that I can be. With Senator Chris Van Hollen, he and I have been the lead co-sponsors of a carbon tax, which is what every economist across the board thinks will do the most to reduce carbon. Bentley and David know that I've been working very hard on fusion energy for a number of years, because when we make that happen, we will really break our dependency on fossil fuels. And I think there are very few people in the House that have as many different climate initiatives, climate work that I have done, along with my staff. We're all chosen because of their climate commitment. And very aware of this is recognizing that in so many disadvantaged communities, especially communities of color, that's where we've put the coal plants, that's where we've put the garbage dumps, that's where we've elevated the highways, that's where we've split up neighborhoods. Pete Buttigieg, who I was his co-chair of his campaign, has worked really hard on our transportation issues, specifically looking at trying to change the way we've treated neighborhoods, and ultimately looking at the heat density of so many inner city neighborhoods that are really disadvantaged by that because of climate change. So I will continue to make that my #1 priority.
Thank you so much. Mr. Hensel.
Yeah, climate and the environment is a major cornerstone issue for me. 2015, I was from 14, fortunate to hike the Pacific Crest Trail from Mexico to Canada and saw the Blue Ridge Mountains are great. The high Sierras in California really they beat it. And I think first off, we need to bring back the Civilian Conservation Corps. If you ever want to just lose a lot of faith in humanity, go look at the Texas Railroad Commission and what they're doing to the people of Texas with wells. We need to give a lot of young people jobs, go out and build trails and clean up this country. Secondly, I think we really need to get aggressive. ExxonMobil, I think they should all be banned from having any, American Petroleum Institute is not really that great of an organization when it comes to lobbying. And I think we need to really get aggressive with that, because I'm 32 and I really don't see a super viable future for the later years of my life at the rate we're going. We need to get serious about this. And because it hasn't been addressed at all, really, we need to also start planning for, sadly, mass migration coming in the next 15, 20 years, because parts of this country have become uninhabitable because we haven't taken action. Like Mr. Byer, additionally, I think fusion industry is key to this. And we should also repeal the awful bill that we have that doesn't allow the United States to recycle nuclear material. That's incredibly, we need to fix that. These are small things that I think do a huge impact. And we also need to use the fact that the United States is the greatest economy in the world and start forcing other countries, including China and India, to get serious about the environment, or you're going to get smacked with huge tariffs and other things that we can do because we have this great economy. So I think we need to take active action.
Thanks,
And
Mr. Hensel.
yeah, thank you.
Mr. Kennedy.
Yeah, thanks. So my wife and I are part of a ministry in the Republic of Zambia. We've been part of that since 2015. We have an orphanage we adopted, and we have some kids we care dearly for. That country and other countries in the southern part of Africa are going through. We're challenged when we see hurricanes and the severe weather patterns here. Their challenge is the Zambezi River drying up, and that affects agriculture. It creates poverty, and it's something that we have to pay attention, not just in Southern Africa, but in the entire world, because the country, the southern half is where there's climate change is wreaking the most havoc. So sometimes we can put on blinders and say, well, it's not happening here, the hurricanes, and that's real. But so we just have to be careful that we don't put on those kind of blinders. And I do think in this dangerous world where we're fighting with China and posturing with China, I actually think it's an opportunity to work with China and India and other developing, growing nations to really advance having compassion for our world.
Thank you. So our next question is around health, and this is another yes or no, so 30 seconds to answer and give a little bit of context. So the NAACP stands firm that access to comprehensive reproductive health services, including contraception, family planning, and safe abortion services, is a fundamental right. Will you support legislation to enshrine reproductive rights into federal law? So we'll start with Mr. Hensel.
Yes, they are the same as bodily autonomy rights. If it's in your person, you have full control. And I think legislators do not have the right to tell you what to do with your own body. So absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy.
Yeah, that's another 1000% yes. Absolutely support a woman's right to choose. And it's like you said, Jen Marie, it's a health issue, and it's also a liberty issue. And absolutely, I support the woman's right to choose.
Thank you, Mr. Byer.
I agree with David and Bentley. Yes, absolutely. I love the announcement this week from the White House from Joe Biden that they're going to work hard to make birth control pills free over the counter, which would be a big step forward. And my wife and I were part of the funding for the new family planning clinic that's just opening in McLean. And we're working right now on yet another one out in the Mason district. So we're trying to provide ever more access here in Northern Virginia.
Thank you so much. Our next question is on criminal justice, and we'll give a minute and a half each. So in the last 8 years, 9 community members have died in the Arlington County Jail. Most of these community members were Black, and many were detained for nuisance crimes such as trespassing. Would you support the NAACP's request for the Department of Justice to conduct an investigation surrounding the deaths in the jail? And how would you help our community address the systemic issue? So we'll start with Mr. Kennedy.
Yeah. Yes to your question. I absolutely support transparency of what has happened in these situations. I said at the beginning, I have a good friend who's incarcerated up in Maryland, and I go visit him. I speak to him, share letters, and I would put criminal justice, specifically prison reform, at the top of my list. 90% of those who are incarcerated are going to be released. It is absolutely in our interest to invest in programs in prisons that prepare people for coming out of prison. We know too many stories. I've seen too many people who, again, come through my church ministry who have all of a sudden they're gone. And then they show up 3 months later. Well, where were you? Oh, I was in jail. And you know what? They're back in their same space right away. There is nothing that there's no training, there's no job skills. So that's an investment that I think has to be bipartisan. Lock them up. Well, that's what a lot of people say. If you're going to argue lock them up, also realize that those folks, 90% of them are going to be released. So we better invest in those who are incarcerated.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Congressman Byer.
Thank you, Jean Marie. I'm reluctant to endorse a Department of Justice investigation, although I would strongly encourage Sheriff Jose Quiroz to work together with the Department of Justice to address the underlying problems. And I deeply believe the underlying problems are that 2/3 of the inmates in Arlington Jail right now also have mental illness challenges. They are homeless, they're alcoholic, they're drug addicted. They are, as you say, many of them are picked up for vagrancy or public drunkenness. And so you're dealing with a population that is already sickly, that is already with really severe health risks. And yet you have a jail that I don't know how many jailers short there are now, but I believe it's in the scores. Because number one, they can't find them. And number two, there's not enough state money. The jail is funded not by Arlington County, but by the federal government, by Virginia. And I think it'd be wonderful to work closely with the current sheriff and with the Department of Justice to do everything we can to make it the safest possible place. Which, by the way, I just spoke to the American Medical Association this afternoon about this exact issue. What we really need to do is get people who need help for their addiction, for their alcoholism, for their schizophrenia out of the jail and into a proper setting. And that's when you're not going to have the deaths.
Thank you, Mr. Hensel.
And when it comes to transparency and investigations, that is right up my alley. So yes, we should investigate, but I think we also need to go farther. Again, one of the big things and with regards to prison reform is the fact that we don't always know what's happening in prisons across this country, and how can we make wide sweeping changes if we really don't know. And frankly, a lot of county sheriffs are in charge of reporting and mandating and letting everyone else know what's actually going on in that prison. And while I understand why, but frankly, I don't trust Rapides Parish, Louisiana, or even Arlington County, to be honest about what's going on. And I think we need to partner with community groups and community organizations, which are already in the prisons, already doing incredible work, and let them, trust but verify. Let them have first an official outlet to say, hey, we see something going on. This is maybe not right, or this is going great. Whatever it may be, they need an official channel to actually communicate those changes. What Mr. Byer said, mental health, we actually need to invest in people because they're going to get out. Like, I think we look at the Nordic countries and how they handle prison, and it's a chance to reform. It's not necessarily always punishment, because sometimes people need help. And this is, I think, a huge space that our country is missing, where there's a lot of people in prison who are not necessarily bad people. They just made a mistake. And I think having compassion and remembering that human beings are actual human beings. They're not someone to just be locked up. And I think, having some sense of empathy would really help with the overall prison reform system.
Thank you. So our next question, before we move to closing, is a 30-second question. So we're looking for a yes or no and just some quick context. So the war in Gaza has injured and killed tens of thousands of innocent Palestinian civilians, and the ongoing humanitarian crisis has millions lacking access to food, clean water, medical care, and other basic needs. Earlier this year, the NAACP called for an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza. Will you join efforts in Congress to achieve a ceasefire in Gaza? So we'll start with Congressman Beyer.
Yes, I called for a ceasefire last December, which was probably late at that. 3 times I've had the opportunity to vote against sending more offensive weapons to Israel. I love Joe Biden and very much appreciate his presidency, but I've been very disappointed in the light touch that he's used with Netanyahu. Netanyahu just ignores, despite us being their largest funder and their great protector, he doesn't pay any attention to what we think should happen in terms of all the humanitarian assistance that needs to go into Gaza. The images of the people burned to death yesterday and yet another Israeli strike just break my heart. We're now 44,000 Palestinians killed. Some of them Hamas soldiers, but most of them not. And it's gone way, way, way too far. So yes, I very much support a ceasefire ASAP.
Thank you. Mr. Hensel?
I released my Palestinian-Israel policy a few days ago, and it's very clear. The U.S. must condition aid to Israel on its withdrawal from occupied Palestinian territories and adherence to international law. But I don't think we can't stop there. Ceasefires will not bring peace, and we need accountability, and we need both sides to engage in good faith negotiations. And if they don't, the U.S. needs to leverage financial support and economic activity with both sides to ensure that we actually are moving forward to fix this problem, fix this crisis in that area, as opposed to just kicking the can down the road like they've been doing for the past few decades.
Thank you. Mr. Kennedy?
Our partnership with Israel goes back to 1947. And I think that partnership has been healthy for so much of that period. What's happened the last little over a year now is a crime, and I absolutely support a ceasefire.
Thank you so much. So now we'll move to closing statements. We'll give each candidate 1 minute. And if during your statement, if you could please highlight what specific actions you'll commit to make Arlington more equitable, that would be great. But we'll start with Mr. Hensel.
So thank you for your time tonight. And these were great, fantastic questions. And like Ms. Kay, and we encourage these kind of events so people can know where we believe and where we stand. As far as what I hope to do with making Arlington more equitable, I think first off, we've got to get better about the wage crisis in this country. That, like I mentioned earlier, the pay gap is unacceptable and it must be fixed. The average cost of a house in Arlington is roughly 850 grand or so. That's way too high. I don't think corporations should be allowed to own more than 2 single-family homes. And I think we need to start taking decisive action to fix the massive crises in this country, or it's not going to look like what we are looking at in the next few years. So I feel unique and powerful perspectives, and I'd love your consideration, and henselforcongress.com to learn more. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kennedy?
Thanks, Jean Marie. Thanks, NAACP, and thanks to Representative Beyer and Mr. Hensel. It's been a really great conversation. We strive for God's kingdom here on earth. Righteousness, justice, compassion. But of course, we live in the real world and an imperfect and broken world. But in our brokenness, we can do amazing things. Affordable housing and living wage are key to my platform. Safe streets and opportunity for youth. Prison reform. Caring for those struggling with mental illness, addictions, and those who are the most vulnerable. Change is good. Representative Beyer, you've done amazing work for this community, but change is good, and a new voice is what I am. And I ask you to vote for me, Dave Kennedy, on November 5th, or if you're doing early voting, beforehand.
Thank you. Congressman Byer.
Yeah, thank you again. Thank you to the NAACP for holding this forum. I respect my opponent's desire to serve, and I thank Bentley and David for running. I've had the pleasure of being part of 3 forums with these 2 gentlemen, and I admire their positions and their values. In the last Congress, I chaired the Joint Economic Committee, where my sole priority was overcoming the wealth gap and the income gap between Black and white American families, roughly an 8-to-1 ratio right now in terms of wealth. 401 kids will generate between $25,000 and $30,000 at age 25 to pay for a down payment or start a new business or pay for higher education. It's what we've called baby bonds for 3 years. I'm working hard for Kamala Harris. I've already raised more than $2 million for her campaign, and I've been doing door knocking every Saturday and Sunday for her. I will continue to fight for higher taxes on the richest 1% to have more money to invest in housing, healthcare, and education in the Americans we have left behind. I will always work as hard for you as I can, and I will continue to do so as long as I have the honor of serving you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all of our candidates and our moderators, Darlene and Tiara, Education Chair. But I will pass it back to our president now. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you to all of the candidates. And thank you to all of the members that helped produce tonight's program. There was a lot of information covered. We will be circulating tonight's video and recording on, we'll post it on our website. We'll send it out on MailChimp. And there may be some updates on Facebook as well. We're down to the wire when it comes to voting. I think we heard a lot of good information tonight to help you make an informed decision. Madam Chair, anything else that you'd like to mention about how to vote, where to vote, any other info that you'd like to add?
Sure. So early voting's currently underway. So I'll put a link in the chat so that everyone knows where that's happening and the times that they can go. And also might be helpful to know that this Friday is the deadline to request a mail-in ballot if you wanted to vote by mail. So I'll put that information in the chat as well. But otherwise, election day is November 5th, so we hope everyone comes out, and we hope that this forum provided helpful information for everyone to be able to make that decision.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And again, thank you to all the candidates and everyone that helped produce this forum. I know it looks easy, but there's a lot of hours that happen behind the scenes. So I want to drop something from our Religious Affairs Chair in the chat in regards to get out the vote. As you're perusing that, I want to remind our members that Virginia has been identified as a priority state. Our goal is to have the highest Black voter turnout and registration in our Commonwealth's history. So we're already mobilizing, they're already activating, and I can't wait to see the impacts of those resource investments. All right, that brings us back to one final item of business, perhaps two, depending on how you look at it. Madam Chair, Nominating Committee Chair, I want to turn the floor back over to you for the amended report, I believe, that you'd like to present. The floor is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam or Sir President. So I emailed to you in case you want to share it with the group, the updated report to reflect that 2 of the original nominees have have dropped out or withdrawn, and it reflects that. And in brief, if somebody could bring that up on the screen. I'm not sure if we have to ask for folks to accept and approve the report, but if that's necessary, we can do that. And is someone bringing that report up on the screen?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and pull it up for you as soon as I get my technology to work. I think I should be good. Give me a moment. I think it's this one. All right. Do you all see my screen?
Yep. And you'll see that the report indicates the 8 candidates' consent forms for nomination that we received as of our deadline at 3 o'clock on October 19. And the secretary has since checked her their membership status, and we found that 2 of the nominees have withdrawn. That was Kathleen for secretary and Karen for treasurer. So what we're left with is 6 candidates. Reverend Delicia Davis for president, Gary Gaston for first vice president, Wells Harrell for third vice president, Adriana Spain for assistant treasurer, and both Whitney Knodel and Kellen Macbeth for at-large membership seats. The committee met 3 times, and with the submission of this report, our work is done. So submit the report, and if we have to, move to have it accepted, if somebody wants to make a motion to do that.
Great. Before we accept that report, did you want to call for any floor nominations?
Yes, thank you for that reminder. Okay, so I'd like to say that the floor is now open for further nominations for the office of president. We'll go through each one of the positions for president. The nominating committee, as you saw in this report, has nominated the Reverend Delicia A. Davis for this position. Are there any other nominations for the office of president? And according to the manual, I'm actually required to ask this question 3 times. So I've asked it once, I'll ask it 2 more times. Are there any other nominations for the office of president? And last but not least, are there any more nominations for the office of president? Okay, just as a point of information for all of us on the call, if anyone wants to nominate themselves for a position from the floor tonight, you have to use the consent form, the candidate consent form. And I did share a copy of that as well with Michael and Wanda, in case, if someone needs it, we can email it to you or put it up on the screen. It also was sent to you in the notices sent by the branch about the nominations. And you also have to get 3 signatures of members in good standing to have that form considered. Okay. And for purposes of signing the form, if you want to support somebody who's putting themselves forward as a nominee, you as a person co-signing that form you're considered in good standing if you've been a member for at least the past 30 days prior to tonight's meeting. To be a candidate, however, you not only have to be a member since May 1st of 2024 with continuous membership, but you also have to live or work in the area, the jurisdiction covered by our branch. So there's a more stringent good standing definition for members that put themselves forward as candidates for a leadership position. Okay, having covered that essential business, let's move on. Now the floor is open for nominations for the office of first vice president. The nominations committee has nominated Gary Gaston. Is there anybody, are there any further nominations for this office of first vice president? Further nominations for the office of first vice president? Going once, going twice. Last time, last call. Further nominations for the office of first vice president? Hearing none, we'll move on to the office of second vice president. We did not receive, the nominations committee did not receive any nominations for this one, so this one's completely open. Is there anybody out there who would like to step up and become involved in the leadership of your branch of the NAACP by nominating yourself for the office of second vice president? Second call. Anyone would like to nominate themselves for the office of second vice president?
I will. Education Committee Chair Tia Alfred.
Thank you so much. Tia, you'll have to get the form and fill it out and get 3 people to sign it. What we could do is, Mike, could you email her the form, or could Wanda?
Sure, I'll email
Okay.
it over to you, and Madam Education Chair, if you'd like, I'd be happy to put the first signature on there, if that's helpful.
Thank
And I'm
you. We
happy to,
appreciate it.
Okay.
yeah, I'm happy to add my signature, and I checked, I'm in good standing, so I can sign it.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, thank you. And this has been, we're recording this, so I don't get Tia's name misspelled or anything. Okay, that was on the second call. So third call, just to follow the rules, is there anyone who would like to put their name forward for second vice president? Hearing none, we'll move on to the office of third vice president. The nominations committee has nominated Wells Harrell for this position. Are there further nominations for the office of third vice president? Second call, are there further nominations for the office of third vice president? Lastly, are there any further nominations for the office of third vice president? Hearing none, we will move on to the position of secretary. This position, now the nomination committee no longer has a nominee for this. So are there nominations from the floor for the office of secretary?
I would like to nominate Wanda Younger for the
Thank
secretary
you.
position.
Okay. Wanda, do you accept?
I do.
Okay. So Wanda, you know the routine on this. We will need to get that form from you. And I'm happy to be one of your signatures. Is there second call? Are there further nominations for the office of secretary? Third call, are further nominations for the office of secretary? Okay, hearing none, we will move on to.
Oh, and just say, I do have signatures already, so I will email that to you.
Okay,
But
thank you.
you for offering, I appreciate it.
Just want to keep the process going because I know for sure that I qualify to sign.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. So then moving on to the assistant secretary, the nominating committee did not receive any nominations for this one, so this is completely open. So are there any nominations from the floor for the office of assistant secretary? Are there any nominations for the office of assistant secretary? Are there any nominations for the office of assistant secretary? Okay, hearing none, that remains open. And we'll get at the end of this process, I'll fill you in, and Mike, if I get it wrong, correct me, about what to do with positions that have no nominees. Those are filled. Okay, next up would be treasurer. We do not have a nominee for that any longer. So are there any nominations from the floor for the office of treasurer? Are there any nominations from the floor for the office of treasurer? This is a good position. Anyone out there that's really good with accounting and numbers and CPAs or anything like that? Nope. Okay, last call. Are there any nominations from the floor for the office of treasurer? Hearing none, we'll move on. Okay, the nominations committee is very happy that to nominate Adriana Spain for the office of assistant treasurer. Are there any further nominations for assistant treasurer? Any further nominations for assistant treasurer? Any further nominations for assistant treasurer? Hearing none, we will move on. We now are to the at-large member nominations, and we have 2 of those. And correct me if I'm wrong, we can have 5 to 10 at-large members, Mike? I think that's what it was.
No, we're supposed to have at least 10, but
Well,
not
at
more
least
than
10.
24.
At least 10 and not 24. Okay, thank you for that clarification. So we do have 2 nominees, and I think I'll just do them at the same time. So Whitney Kernodle and Kellen Macbeth have both been nominated by the nominations committee for an at-large seat. So that's 2 of at least those 10 that we can have. Are there any other nominations for an at-large seat?
I would like to nominate James Younger for one.
Okay. So you know you've got to. Do you already have the consent form and the signatures?
Yes, and it's been turned to me and the signatures have been confirmed.
Okay, great. Are there any other nominations from the floor for an at-large seat? Okay, going one more time. Any other nominations for an at-large seat? All right, so we have 3 nominees now. Thank you so much. All right, so now we've done that. I assume we're doing the certifications. I know that I'm still got some duties here, but I'm going to be signing the form for the second vice president, so we can. Wanda, you can also, just knowing that my name's going to be there, I think confirm that I'm in good standing. So you'll know that when you see it, we've got it. So thank you so much for all of that, for folks that have stepped up so far. We now have an opportunity for speeches in support of candidates. You don't have to give a speech, but if you want to make a speech, my suggestion would be, given the late hour, that it be direct and brief. Is there anybody who, either as a nominee or somebody in support of nominee, would like to give a speech in support of a nomination? Going once, going twice, 3 times, we're done. Thank you so much. Now, you'll notice, if you're following along, that we have a couple of positions on this executive leadership team for which there were no nominations, or in the case of the at-large members, we could get up to at least 7 more to meet the minimum of the 10 that we can have, the 10 minimum that we could have. So in between at the beginning of, now Mike, correct me if I've got this right or not. At the beginning of the next administration, the president can appoint members to fill these vacant spots.
Close. In the January, the general membership can elect any vacant positions.
Okay, great. So, and in the interim, can anybody, well, in between now and November, when we vote on this slate, is there an opportunity for anyone to bring their name forward, or is tonight it?
Not that I'm aware of. The Virginia State Conference did say, at a date to be determined later, National would provide guidance for unfilled offices ahead of January. So there will likely be some information that comes from National Virginia State Conference from now to January.
Okay. So for anybody that, the more they think about it, they think that, I think I want to be part of my branch's leadership. We will have guidance between now and beginning of the year, I guess. And when we get notice about that, we'll know how to proceed with that if somebody wants to step up at that time. Just seeking to confirm that that's what you said.
The best of my understanding, it is.
Okay, then I believe my business is done here. Thank you again for the privilege of serving as the chair of the nominations committee, and to the members of the nominations committee, who truly were a pleasure to work with, very supportive and helpful. And at that point, I'll turn it back to you, Mike, because I believe you have to elect a supervisory committee now.
Great. Just as a formality, I believe it would be best for our members tonight to accept this report as presented. So if anyone would like to make that motion, I'd entertain a motion to receive that report as presented. All right, I see we got Ms. Mary. Would you like to make that motion?
Sure. I move that the slate, is that appropriate? The slate of officers as presented be accepted.
Great. Would anyone like to second that?
Second.
Thank you, Sister Dunkley. There's a motion on the floor, members. It's to receive the report of the nominating committee of the 2024 NAACP Arlington branch as presented and amended this evening. It's been properly moved and seconded. Will all those members in favor of that motion, could you please signify by saying aye?
Aye.
And all those members who oppose, you have the same right, please say nay. Okay, and any abstentions?
Same.
I've heard one abstention. Okay, great. That motion does carry. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, nominating committee. I believe we have a new administration. Congratulations to President Reverend Dr. Pastor Davis.
Amen.
I cannot wait to see what you do, and congratulations to each of the leaders that were elected this evening. All right, we have one final order of business, and that is to elect the Election Supervisory Committee. I wanted to read the duties. It's very light work. National's actually doing most of the heavy lifting for us, but we do need to elect 5 people. So let me see if I could find the language on that. All right, here we go. The Election Supervisory Committee, via the interim unit secretary, shall, upon request from any nominee for president, make the membership roster or list available to the nominee. They may not copy the membership roster or list, but within reasonable limits, address communications from the list or roster of members at the candidate's expense, provided that the same privilege is extended to all candidates for president at the same time. I imagine since we don't have a contested race for president, I don't imagine our candidate would like to do that. All right, the next is the request to inspect the membership roster or list must be in writing to the chairman of the Election Supervisory Committee, and acknowledgement likewise must be given in writing. The chairman of the Election Supervisory Committee must indicate when he, she, or another member or members of the committee will be available for this purpose, and the notification must be given to all candidates for president at the same time. All right. It also goes on to say, candidates for president may review or inspect the membership roster or list using a team of 5 members in good standing. The term members in good standing for this purpose shall mean that they must be members of the branch at the time that this activity is to begin. The Election Supervisory Committee may schedule the inspection reviews at different times in order to accommodate the presidential candidates. So lastly, there's 4 items here. The Election Supervisory Committee must ensure the names placed on the ballot are spelled correctly before submitting the ballot to the national office. So there'd be instructions for that submission. All consent forms, petitions, along with election details such as the date and time will be submitted using the electronic form, which will email to the national office. As you remember, our membership did decide the date of the election to be next month, and we've already determined that 4-hour block. So the guesswork is taken out. We really just need someone to kind of capture a little bit of notes. 2 is voting shall take place during those hours announced in the election notice, a minimum of 4 hours. The result of the election will be automatically dispersed to voters by electronic platform at the close of election. So our national office is administering the election. We're just making sure that the names are spelled correctly, and then all of the qualifying documents are sent over to national. Lastly, after the election has concluded, the Election Supervisory Committee will be responsible for ensuring that each elected official completes an officer update form. So just some contact information and et cetera. Would we have 5 members that are willing to serve on that Election Supervisory Committee? Thank you, former chair of our nominating committee. We got 4 more to go. Do we have 4 more members willing to serve?
Is this, Mike, is this being done on Zoom, or do we get together?
Sure, it sure can. Yep. We can do
Okay.
Zoom, hybrid, in
All right.
person, really flexible.
All right.
So we got 2. Thank you, Miss Sarah. We need 3 more, folks. Really light lift. All right, Miss Judith, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. 2 more, and we're out of here. Two more. Do we have 2 more members?
I don't think so.
All right. Since I'm not running, I'd be
I
happy to
wanted,
serve.
could you please repeat the date that,
Sure. It'll be the November general membership meeting date, 2 hours before and 2 hours after, I believe 5 to 9 p.m. So the third Monday of November, 2 hours before our meeting starts, we'll remind our members during the meeting, and then the polls will close 2 hours after. So 11:18, 5 to 9 p.m. So I'll serve on that committee. We just need one more and we can adjourn the meeting. Who's that brave final volunteer that's willing to serve?
Don't be looking at me.
All right, Sister Dunkley, I was definitely looking at you, but Miss Gail, I
I knew you
appreciate
would.
you. Thank you so
Okay.
much. Madam
Okay.
Secretary, were you able to capture those names?
Was we have Miss Laura Saul Edwards, Miss Judith Knight, Miss Sarah Munson, you, President Heminger, and Miss Gail Ermosilla.
All right.
that's good.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, folks. I really appreciate it. I can't wait to see you all this Saturday. You got 3 more days to get those tickets. If you haven't got it, it's the biggest civil rights event of the year. Thank you for an incredible meeting. Thank you for an incredible year. We got a big election, so we're not done yet. Thanks, everybody. We're adjourned.
Amen. Amen.